All right. What is going on, everybody? The Xbox 2 podcast is now live. Hopefully everybody here is having a great Friday or great day whenever you are listening to it. This is episode, as Jez has a title, 343. I don't know if that's actually correct. Could be 342, could be 344. I'm just following whatever Jez posts in the Patreon.
That's right.
So,
it's 343, right? Like 343 Industries.
343 Industries, yes.
God rest its soul.
I'm Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host with the co-most, leader of Windows Central. Leader is probably a bit of an exaggeration, but,
Lightly.
Jez Corden, Windows Central. What's going on, bud?
It's going, man. It's going. I'm glad Black Friday and Cyber Monday is well and truly behind us now. Like, it's like when all that stuff's over, it's like, beautiful. It's over. We're free, But yeah, we just had our, final work stuff of the year, meeting with the CEO, and everything's doing well, and there's not going to be layoffs. So I'm feeling quite chill right now. Usually, oftentimes I'm on edge, during the quarterlies, but now it's like, oh, I can breathe and relax and have some fun podcasting action.
Yes.
With my good buddy, Rand
and
and
we're actually on the day we're supposed to be on. Finally. It seems like It's been forever since we've done a Friday podcast. Because most of the time, Jez is like, gotta do the show on Monday, mate. Gotta be on Monday, mate. So here we are on Friday, our normal day. And it feels good because I don't like doing the show on any other days, really. I like doing it on Friday and enjoying my weekend and not having to be like, oh, God, I got to think about all this stuff to do for a Monday. So, yes. And for those of you worried about Indiana Jones footage, I did have it, but I decided against using it because it's still in early access and I don't want to spoil anything of the game yet. So maybe I'll have it for Friday next week. But I wanted to give people at least a chance to experience the game since a lot of people won't be able to play it until I think it officially launches on Tuesday. So enjoy some Jez playing Valorant, I guess, is what we have here for you to check out. Jez's FPS skills, or maybe his cousin's FPS skills or something.
I think that's my cousin playing, actually. So it's definitely not my skills. I am actually terrible at Valorant. I'm actually awful at Valorant. It's actually shocking how bad I am at that game.
Yeah, I wonder, you're probably also pretty bad at Overwatch. I mean, you're probably also just generally bad at video games, right?
I'm okay at Overwatch.
No, I mean, you should be after how many hours you put into it?
God knows, but I haven't played Overwatch for a long time, man. And everyone's all about Marvel Rivals now.
Yeah,
so.
Marvel Rivals coming out with those skins, bro. People loving the skins of the game. People liking the gameplay loop. I think it debuted to 400,000 plus on Steam. Probably doing really well on consoles, Xbox and PlayStation. I guess the question, though, is it's not so much the launch. It's what are the numbers going to look like in a month, 2 months, 3 months, 5 months? Because XDefiant did pretty well at launch. And now look where XDefiant is. So...
yes, it's XDefiantly in the shithole.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I would be asking you how your week went. We last talked on Monday. Anything interesting happened between Monday and now?
No, not spectacularly. It's been a bit of a blur, to be honest. It was Cyber Monday, and you guys, if you follow me on socials, you would have seen all the deals we had to post. But hopefully you guys caught some good ones. There were some pretty good deals. The Lenovo Legion Go is $200 off. And then I leaked the next Lenovo Legion Go the other day. I don't know if you caught that.
Why don't you leak the next Xbox handheld or the first Xbox handheld, right? Come on. That's what people really want. Leak the next console. Let's go.
I know that's what people want. We're not quite there yet. We're not quite there.
We're not quite there.
Yeah, I'm sure like the next Xbox handheld right now just looks like a bunch of wires stuck to a motherboard.
It probably has like the shell of the ROG Ally too, right?
Yeah, for like some 3D printed thing that they're just messing around with. Very, very prototype stage, I think, with that stuff right now. But yeah, as soon as I have information on that, I'll be all over it, man. Because I'm all about that handheld that
Yes,
might
you
never
are.
actually come out. So
I think it will. I think it will. I mean, PlayStation's going to do one. Xbox is going to do one. I even saw some rumor here that Joaquin sent me because he sends me all these things from gaming leaks and rumors Reddit or whatever, where half the stuff there is usually full of shit anyways. But he sent me something about Steam next year. Steam's going to release a home console.
yeah.
And I was like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
and I think you mentioned that, like, oh, just wait till Steam releases a home console and ties the whole ecosystem into everything. And then I was like, oh man, if they'd actually release a home console, that means you could play PlayStation games on a Steam console that would compete with Xbox and PlayStation, but has all the games from everybody on it. That'd be kind of crazy. But then would it actually do well? Because the Steam machines or whatever was kind of like an absolute flop when they originally did them.
Yeah,
But
but that was
maybe they're in a
before.
different position now. I don't know. That'd be kind of nuts if that actually happened.
I mean, yeah, that was before they had Proton though. Now they got Proton, which is like the translation layer, which it means that all the games on Windows can run on Steam OS or Linux in essence. And Proton is really good. So all the issues with the Steam machines that stop them proliferating are pretty much gone now. So that they don't have to get devs to do ports, man. They can just be like, "Oh yeah, don't worry, it'll work. It'll just work via the power of Proton. All the Xbox games, all the PlayStation games are now available on Steam's console, rendering PlayStation and Xbox obsolete in essence." So that'll be interesting to see how people move the goalposts after that event. But I
If
do
it
think
happens.
that's
If it happens.
it'll happen.
And even
It'll
if people
definitely.
even decide to buy it, they may not, like they did last time. Could
Yeah,
just
maybe,
not do
but
anything. But it would be funny
maybe.
though.
I think it's going to shake up the industry either way, and I think that's why Microsoft's going in the direction that it is, because they're like, well, if Steam's doing this, then we kind of have to open up as well, kind of thing. But
Well,
we'll see what
there was
happens.
the other, thing. I think I saw this on Twitter, but you're able to use your Xbox Cloud save on Steam with Indiana Jones. Is that something brand new?
Oh,
Is that
what?
something specifically with? Yeah. I think Maro NL, who's someone I follow on Twitter, posted that you can use your Xbox Cloud save playing Indiana Jones on Steam.
Do you sign in to the as your Xbox Live account then, or something?
I don't know. Let me bring up his
That
tweet.
must be how it works if you sign in with Xbox Live. So
Yeah,
right
he
now,
says you can now use Xbox Cloud save games when playing the Steam version of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. The game supports Play Anywhere, but it seems this is a new feature which enables you to use a single save file across the Windows Store, Xbox, and Steam. And he's got a
oh
picture of the
wow.
options where it says use Xbox Cloud save games off or on. So
Well, yeah. I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, there are some games which do that already, but for example, Diablo. Like Diablo, if you sign in with Battle.net, you get all your stuff. There's a lot of third-party solutions like Cyberpunk, for example. You can sign in with Cyberpunk account on Steam, Xbox, and you can get a cloud save there through their system. But I guess Microsoft's expanding its own system to Steam now, which is not unexpected, I suppose. But yeah, I suppose that's the way we're going now. Cloud saves everywhere. I wonder if they'll extend that to PlayStation as well. Because Indiana Jones is coming to PlayStation, right?
yeah, I
And
mean
I
you.
suppose Minecraft Dungeons did that actually, didn't it? I think Minecraft Dungeons, you could sign in with your Xbox account on PlayStation and get all your shit everywhere.
I would
But
assume if they if there's a requirement to signing into your Microsoft account on PlayStation, then yeah, you could probably use the save or whatever. But whether or not that's going to be, something that happens, well, I just have to wait and see. But I mean, it's cool. It's another way of like, hey, the save's here. I have an access to this. Buy the game and then being able to continue on where I left off. I mean, Ubisoft does that pretty well with their saves up in the cloud and stuff. You buy different versions and you can continue on where you played. Although I don't know, I saw
it's
that
all
tweet and
about
I
the
just
games moving forward. Doesn't
yes,
matter where you play, just what your account you're using to sign in, really. And that's just the way it's going. I think Microsoft's just being first to the punch, I guess.
Mm. Jesse from Xbox Sarah just told me that you get Xbox achievements for indie on Steam if you connect your Xbox account as well.
That is wild, man.
So I wonder if you get Xbox achievements and Steam achievements at the same time, or just depending on which one you sign into.
It's probably both, I would imagine. It's probably the same trigger. Interesting.
Interesting indeed. So, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We appreciate everybody who does so. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my Indiana Jones video yesterday. I
did. I watched it.
I know it's been a while
while eating my dinner.
I know it's been a while since I put out a video, and honestly, I'll be straight up. I did not like my review. I didn't. I just felt it wasn't good enough, or I felt that what I wanted to say didn't come across clearly. And it had been a while since I edited a video, and it took me a lot longer than I normally did. But I do think I at least got across how I felt about the game, and we'll expand on it because Jez has played the game, and he has some thoughts about Indiana Jones as well. But yeah, it was nice to get back in the creation aspect of just editing and making content. And then I sat there and I was like, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. Right, I didn't mention the prologue, which I see is like a big contention point now with how they start the game off with the recreation of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Some people are like, "How dare they? How dare they do this? It's disgusting."
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's
awesome.
like a whole thing about how a few reviewers, a few people are like mortified that they would.
That.
Well, it's like.
Clutch pearls harder, man. Like, what the fuck? There's so many other things to be annoyed about.
Yeah,
right now.
it was weird because they were more like making fun of like, oh, here's one of cinema's greatest, like set piece moments, and sometimes it doesn't look as good as, the movie version, especially Alfred Molina's character. But people were like, oh my God, this is so soulless or whatever. And it's just like, it's a waste of time. And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, that was fucking cool as hell. Like, I didn't expect it. I loaded the game up and you're in Raiders of the Lost Ark as a tutorial. I'm like, this is fucking amazing. And it's like 10 minutes long and it sets the stage. And it's just like, what a weird thing to be outraged about. I don't know, man. Like, I was like, this was just a fun thing for fans who like wanted to step in the shoes of Indy in his most iconic adventure, and you're getting the that idol with, and it's like, when you think about Indiana Jones, like, oh, I want to run away from the boulder, and you do that in the game. It's like, I don't know how anybody could be like that against what they did. I don't know. Sometimes I just kind of roll my eyes at some of the criticisms sometimes that people have towards stuff. It's a waste of time. It's 10 minutes. It's a basic tutorial to get you into the shoes of Indiana Jones, and it's basically over as fast as it begins. But like, go on,
I think this is where...
go complain about it for 20 minutes in your review or whatever, and it's like, really? This is what we're doing? All right.
I think this is where some of the contention lies with some of the takes on Indiana Jones, because are we getting into it now? How we feel about Indiana Jones?
Because we still gotta do the intro for the Patreon peeps.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
well, okay, I'll hold that thought.
For those of you out there who are still buying gifts for your loved ones, make sure that if you got Manscaped on your Santa's list, that you can use our code XB2 at checkout for 20% off and worldwide shipping. So keep that in mind. But we also have the wonderful patrons who support the show. The Xbox 2 question and answer thread is now up for Patreon members if they want to ask something, which we will answer at the end of the show. And, we appreciate everybody who supports us there. We got to get the shout outs here for the Xbox 2 MVPs. We got D Big Fluffy Bunny, Resin Force, iMike Zero, Tier, Shrapnel, Inner Machine, Just James 93, Jay Peltier, Holy Dark Death, Steve Stompy, 09C Mine, James Wiseau, Trickster for Trey, Will Hernandez, Battered Haddock, Army Dude 52C, Ryan Kipple, Foreign Object, RS Donks, Randall Thor 19, Silas, James Moore, Fantasticals, Catriox, Bright Tundra 1, Discarded Caboose, Justin Duell, Frank Mariano, Preview Bro King, Asa T and Madison, Governor Grimm, DZ Huffin, Wagerman, Achievement, The Scarecrow 121, Adam Bartolo, Darren Tropy, Prof JJJ, and Wolfgang KPZ. Thank you guys so much for supporting the podcast. We appreciate you.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. Bunch of new members there, so thanks to everyone who signed up now and what tier you're on. Also, there's a free Patreon tier, which is just for like news and updates, and you know, if we have to delay a show or something, it's an easy way to keep in touch with us. So, you know, do sign up, even if you don't have any bones to throw away. It's completely fine. So
yeah, or join the Discord. A lot of great people on the Discord always talking about games and stuff.
Oh, you just reminded me, actually. Yeah. If you join the Discord, we're giving away some cool stuff over Christmas. So the first thing I'm giving away is a copy of Indiana Jones. So if you haven't purchased the game, there's a giveaway for Indiana Jones currently going live on the Discord, which you can also find in the description. It's discord.gg/XB2 if you want to find it manually. And then we're going to give away a headset, the new Turtle Beach Stealth 700, so that'll be in a week or so. And then the big giveaway for Christmas is an Xbox Series X White All Digital Edition, which we'll be giving away at the end of the month. So yeah, definitely sign up for the Discord and get some free swag.
Yeah, free swag indeed. So, Jez, now that that's all out of the way, I figure, this show, we did the show on Monday, so a lot of the stuff that's kind of been going on, we've talked about. Before we get into like the Indiana Jones stuff and some of the other things, I just want to get your prediction about what we will see potentially at the Game Awards and what Xbox will show. Because we are a week away, well, less than a week, it's 6 days away, but we're not doing a show until Friday. So, what can people expect to see from the Keeleys? Because last year, it was an Xbox year. Previous year, we got nothing. Last year, we got Blade reveal, which was everybody seemed to know about it, which was odd. We got a look at, well, we didn't even get a look at OD, but Kojima was there talking about OD for a while. We got a Hellblade 2 trailer with the band that kind of did the song. So Microsoft was in full force. What do you think Xbox has to show, if anything, this year? What do you think's going on?
I'm expecting a more low-key Xbox this year. I think there'll be some things, some like little things, something like maybe Black Myth Wukong release day or something like that. I don't, just for emphasis, that wasn't a tease. I don't know if they are going to announce that. But something along those lines. I'm not expecting anything particularly major from the Game Awards this year. But, I haven't heard any rumors that they were doing anything big. I just heard rumors of maybe a couple of small things. So we'll see what happens. If it's a couple of small things, then it is what it is. And remember, they also have they do their own shows now in January, the developer direct. So I think if it is low key, it's probably because they're holding some stuff back for their own show now. And Xbox fans have been telling Microsoft not to support Jeff Keighley, so it's kind of like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So Microsoft's doing its own shows now, and so yeah, I personally not expecting anything, but I don't know if you've heard differently, Rand.
No, I mean, I haven't heard it really anything differently than you. Like, I expect maybe a couple trailers for Xbox games. I mean, a Black Myth Wukong release date for Xbox kind of would make sense, but then again, that's very much like what happened with Baldur's Gate 3 last year, where they were supposed to give it, remember? It was supposed to shadow drop, and then they forgot to mention it, so maybe that happens. I don't know.
Well, I know Microsoft met with the team at Tokyo Game Show, I heard. So, and Phil said to Stephen Totillo in an interview recently, I know when Black Myth Wukong's launched on Xbox, so presumably there is a launch date, on the document somewhere. So, was that a tease from Phil for the Game Awards? Maybe. But maybe it's further out. I don't know. We'll see. How How long has it been since it launched on PlayStation? Because
Came out on PlayStation in August.
So what's that in mathematical terms?
I mean, it would be what, 4 months? 4 months?
Yeah. So if there's like a 6-month exclusivity period, what would that be? February?
Yeah,
but then,
something like that.
That's awkward for Avowed and other games.
Well, dude, February's already packed. February has Civilization 7, which, okay, more of a niche game than a lot of the other products.
Well,
right?
It's niche on console, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Kingdom Come Deliverance, which was supposed to come out the 11th, actually had its release date moved up a week to February 4th, which is not something you normally see. Although you actually saw it twice for games releasing in February, so it's something you never really often see, games moving forward. But 2 of the games coming in February actually had it happen. So you got Kingdom Come Deliverance moving a week forward to this February 4th. You have Avowed, releasing in early access on the 14th, and then actually releasing on the 18th, I think it is. You have Assassin's Creed Shadows releasing basically right on top of Avowed. You have like a Yakuza Pirates, which was supposed to release on the 28th, but moved forward to the 20th. And Monster Hunter Wilds, which is the big game of February, and the big game of probably Q1 in general, probably even the first half of the year, honestly.
Yeah.
Is releasing at the end of the month. So
a monster.
February is already jam-packed. Absolutely. I mean, because people have talked about the idea of moving Avowed maybe into like early January or delaying it to March, because there's just so many games condensed into one time period that people like, oh, you should give Avowed room to breathe, but that's what's happening. We do have a couple super chats here. One of them is from Clutch K1 Do, who says, with the $5, premium edition of Indiana Jones for someone to enjoy, not you, Nick. And he puts the code here for somebody to enjoy Indiana Jones today, because he's giving away sounds like he's giving away the $100 version of the game. So if you do get the code, make sure you thank Mr. Clutch. We appreciate you for giving out the game to one of the listeners of Xbox 2. So definitely that would make somebody's day, I would imagine.
It would.
What else we got here? We have Andy Ackerman with the $5 saying, I'm just here to prop up your massive hogs. Wait, ... Yeah. Okay. Ultraman with the 5 says, hey fellas, Indiana and the Great Circle is awesome. Really surprised by the game and gameplay. Yeah, I think a lot of people will be. I was definitely surprised by it. Actually reviewed higher than I originally had anticipated. I had a range, and I thought maybe it would reach as high as an 85, but I wasn't really sure how people would feel about the nature of the game, which we will talk about. I thought, well, maybe people will be turned off by the slower nature of it being a puzzle-focused experience. But no, people love it. It's currently back up to an 87 on Metacritic with like 55 reviews. So, hey, it's got the same Metacritic as Halo Infinite. Imagine that. Which I always chuckle and think about the idea when people say Halo Infinite was terrible, and I'm like, well, it certainly wasn't at launch. People really loved Halo Infinite when it came out, but nobody has memories of 2021, I guess, or was it? Yeah, it was 2021 because it was supposed to launch in 2020. But yeah, people are really enjoying.
Can you imagine if it launched in 2020?
Could you? Oh man. So yeah.
Oof.
So I guess we might as well just get right into Indiana Jones, shall we?
Let's do it, baby.
The Mach 45G says, I don't know why there was such doubt about Indiana Jones. Machine Games are great developers. It wasn't so much doubt. I never doubted Machine Games. Although, I mean, let's be honest, they did put out Wolfenstein Youngblood, which was an awful game. So it's not like they haven't stumbled in the past before, right?
But that was in collaboration with someone else.
Yeah, that was in collaboration with Arcane, Austin. But
Let's caveat that. That's fine.
I mean, it depends. Like, who did the story for that game? Because I think Arcane's involvement was the level design, where
Well, I think
Wolfenstein's, you know.
being completely realistic, they built that game when ZeniMax was panicking about having service games. So I don't know.
Oh well,
I'm
Sam.
just gonna pretend it doesn't exist.
Sam says it was Arcane Leon. So my bad. I thought it was Arcane Austin. So yeah, who was the culprit for the awful Youngblood? I guess we'll never know. But here they are, Machine Games back after quite some time from their previous release of Wolfenstein New Colossus with Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And I was lucky enough to get a review copy. So thank you to Xbox and Bethesda for sending it over. I love the Wolfenstein series. I am a big fan also of Indiana Jones. I'm not like a super fan of Indiana Jones, but I've seen the movies multiple times. I really like the character. Like the first 3 movies I've seen, I don't know how many times, over 10 times each. And I was really excited to get into it because it looked like it was going to be a really fun game. And when I was playing through it, I couldn't stop playing it. I forget what day we got it, but the first day I played it for 8 hours straight. The next day I got on and played it for 9 hours straight. Yeah, obviously breaks in between here and there to eat and do stuff. But dude, I was like in the zone. I couldn't stop playing it. For the first 4 days, I played it 8 hours straight. I was doing everything the game had to offer before moving on to the next area. So it like exceeded my expectations of what I was expecting from them. It's just kind of difficult for me to judge how other people might review something. So like I was like, I don't know, like it is an immersive sim. Right? It has that Dishonored feel, that Thief feel, the Chronicles of Riddick, the Hitman vibes, player choice as they call it, or how you can. It's up to you to how you want to actually engage with the gameplay and the combat and the stealth. Like you can do it as much as you want, or you can do it as little as you want. It's totally up to you to determine how you want to play it. And some people jive with those games, and some people don't. So I was like, I don't know, maybe this will review lower, but it blew out my expectations for what other people thought about the game. And I personally gave it an 8.5. I think the game's fantastic. I do have a couple criticisms here that, it's like kind of preventing it from being a 9 or higher, but it's really close to being a 9 regardless. Like, it's damn good. Especially if you're an Indiana Jones fan, which I think is probably the thing that you touch on the most about this. If you're an Indiana Jones fan, this is and I know it's a tired cliche to use, but quote-unquote love letter to the franchise. And that's one of the things I think they did right by. In a time when a lot of companies don't respect source material, whether it's in games or movies, where they feel like they're better than the writers of the books themselves,
of the original content.
You can tell there's a total respect of the legacy of Indiana Jones and the passion and love that the developers have for the character, the world, and the universe comes shining through. Like, this legitimate feels like a lost Indiana Jones movie that somehow somebody from Bethesda went into the vaults in Steven Spielberg's basement and was able to pull together a film that they had done and is now like sending it out into the world. You know what I mean, Jez?
Yeah, I mean that was my whole thing in my preview. I was just like, I couldn't believe the sheer. The level of authenticity was beyond anything I've experienced in a licensed game like this, and it wasn't like they were inserting themselves or any of their own sort of desire about what Indiana Jones could or should be. This is pure Indiana Jones. See, like, I'm hesitant to call it an immersive sim. Me and Rand talked about this a little bit before, because I feel like immersive sims, the focus in an immersive sim is the freedom, right? But here I feel like it's a little bit more incidental it's just like the fact that it's approaching an immersive sim is just because that's the gameplay genre that most befits an Indiana Jones movie. He mixes it up. He does a little bit of stealth. Sometimes he grabs a gun. Sometimes he just sneaks away and doesn't do anything. Sometimes he wears disguises. Sometimes he does that or the other. Like, but in this, there's like, it's focused around everything that Indiana Jones does in the movies, rather than like going well beyond that. I suppose the only real thing that I suppose you could say is unique to this game is the camera, because the top of my head, I don't remember Indiana Jones using the camera, and I actually had to look up if cameras like that even existed in that time period, and apparently they did. There were some cameras like that. They were hyper expensive, but they did exist. So, but the thing is, like, that kind of needs to be there. The camera's like a huge gameplay mechanic. It's used for like examining puzzles and things like that, and moving the story forward in some way. So
it's also used to chronicle your adventure.
Yeah,
because you put the pictures in your journal, which the journal gave me Last Crusade vibes. You know, when he would look at his dad's journal about everything about the Holy Grail. So yeah, it is a gameplay element. It also ties into the loop of the adventure points and how you get them. You know.
Yeah, and it was like it's really, it gives the game a real tactile feel, that journal. You know, and that's kind of what Indiana Jones is all about. It's really about tactility. Is that even a word? I don't know. But it's all about, because the combat is not the focus. You're not guns blazing like Wolfenstein. So to give the game that sense of interactivity that a common FPS might have, they make everything really interactive. Like the map's a physical object, the journal's a physical object, there's the camera, and then, you know, even things as simple as opening a door. Like you physically pull the door open, you know, almost giving me, you know, Resident Evil vibes there a little bit. So there's a lot of great interactivity in the game, and for me, like it's clear that their North Star above everything else was authentic Indiana Jones. Now, that's where, like, what I was saying to Rand before the show was, that's where I was wondering, like, how will that land with journalists? Because I think for people who are a big fan of Indiana Jones, or even like a casual fan like me and you are, I would say, because I am like a mega fan of Indiana Jones. I do love Indiana Jones, but it's very much like a sort of casual love. I'm not like obsessed with Indiana Jones like some people are, like with the merch and, you know, stuff like that, right? But as a casual fan of Indiana Jones, it's just delightful, you know, seeing the references to the other movies, you know, how it ties into the wider canon, you know, all those little details, which is like, it's just so authentic. So it feels so good. And I was thinking, like, if other reviewers don't like Indiana Jones, they're probably not going to like this game, because this is an Indiana Jones simulation game above all else, above everything else. It's an Indiana Jones simulation game. So if you're someone who isn't a big fan of puzzle gaming, or you're not a big fan of like games that maybe emphasize adventure over combat, like me, for example, you know, I always clown on Rand, right, for his love of walking simulators. And this isn't a walking simulator, at least, because you can go in guns blazing. Like sometimes, like, like when I play Indiana Jones, sometimes we're just like, I'm not even going to bother stealthing this. I've got 6 bullets in my revolver. I'm just going to kill everyone in this room.
Yeah, but you really can't kill anybody with 6 bullets. You can barely kill one person with 6 bullets.
Dude, I swear to God, you're doing it wrong, man. I was aim for the head. You'll kill people.
Dude,
man.
I aimed for the head. I also had all the adventure books, so I had my gun damage maxed out, and it still would take
people in helmets.
Even people without helmets would take at least 2 shots with the revolver. It's just the gunplay.
Doing it wrong, bro.
No, I'm doing it right.
Maybe you missed. You must have missed. I think you missed.
First off, how long have you played? What's your time on it? Like, where are you at?
I'm somewhere like, I've just got to the second major area, Giza. So I'm like, that's the area from the preview event. So I'm like, I don't know, 10 hours in, something like that. I played a fair bit this week, at least a fair bit for me anyway. So I'm pretty far in, you know. I've killed tons of people with guns, man. But like, did you just use the revolver? Because there's a bunch of different guns too. There's rifles. I got a PPSH, a Nazi submachine gun, you know, and I mow people down, bro. Sometimes I go full Wolfenstein in this game. There are times where it kind of expects you to. I feel like, Like when you're
No.
in the yeah, I think so. Like towards the end of, I'm not going to spoil it, but towards the end of the first area, there's a tower that you climb up, and there is a PPSH or whatever that gun is called, submachine gun, just lying on the floor. That is a hint for you to go guns blazing in that area, bro. And I bloody well did. Went guns blazing, killed everyone, and then did the cool climatic thing at the end of that event. So I do feel like they try to corral you into Hollywood style climactic moments with the placement of the objects in the game, because you can just sneak around and use like shovels and hammers to stealth kill people, but there's nothing stopping you from grabbing a gun and having a little murder spree,
Yeah, nothing stopping you besides that. It's not really fun to use, and usually everybody in the map
it's not fun
then
to use.
knows where you're at, and they will come at you with weapons, shooting you,
Yeah,
which
and
you
you
can't
kill
really
them, man.
avoid. So using guns is not recommended in this game whatsoever.
No, it's hella recommended. Ignore Rand. He just can't aim.
See,
So
the
I
thing
would
is, like
100%
Jez.
go guns blazing, bro.
See, I'm a stealth gamer, and the stealth in this game wasn't the greatest I've ever experienced. So in those areas, I typically do want to, like I would play Splinter Cell. Like I want to be a ghost. If I'm going to take people out, I don't want anybody to see what I'm doing. But it's also, Indy was presented a way where I also, if somebody did see me, I wasn't worried about it. I wasn't going to restart it. I would just immediately flow into the next combat encounter. And that's why I feel like the combat shines in this game is not when there's 5 people in your face and you're trying to defend yourself. It's when you're fighting somebody and you beat them, and then you have another guy coming towards you and a third guy behind them, because then you can experiment with the whip, which is so awesome to use, right? So many times where I'd beat somebody down, and then the next guy would be coming at me with a baton or something in his hand, and I'd use the whip to crack it out of his hand, and he'd stop and like turn around, and then I'd run up to him and just beat the crap out of him to kill him. And there would be a third guy who's coming at me, and I would like whip him by the feet, pull him off the ground onto his back, and then I would just rain punches down on him. I feel like that's where the combat shines in this game, in those scenarios where you can individually take down each person and then get to use the whip to its like best use, rather than everybody on the map knowing where you're at, rushing after you, all punching you at the same time. I didn't really enjoy that, and most of the times, I mean, I could get out of the situation like that by beating everybody, because I'm just that good at the game, you know what I mean? Like, gamer skills with a Z. But
you're so good at the game you can't kill people with a gun.
Because the game won't let you kill people with the gun.
No, it does.
No,
you just
it doesn't.
did it wrong. I'm telling you, you just did it wrong.
Yes,
guys, ignore Rand. Right? Rand does not know how to shoot. He doesn't play. He doesn't play Overwatch. He doesn't play Call of Duty. He doesn't play Valorant.
Just,
He's not
I was playing on.
like myself.
I know you're probably playing on easy mode. You know what I mean? Where things probably die right away. I get it.
No, dude. I was playing on normal. I thought I'd give the AI a chance. Wait. Yeah, I was playing on normal to give the AI a chance, So, wait, that's the other way around. That doesn't work. Anyway, shut up. The gunplay is fine. You just did it wrong. So, like, well, try it for yourself. You can mix it up. You really can. And like, I'm
not saying you can't.
You kill someone with a rifle. I really love how you can flip the rifle around and then beat them with it like it's a baseball bat.
Yes,
that's hilarious. So it's like you run out, your clip runs out, you don't reload, you just like, fuck it, I'll turn the rifle around and then use it as a baseball bat.
Yes,
and then you can smack people, and then it'll break.
Then it'll break because all the weapons in the game have
health. They have a health bar.
Yeah, they have like little dots in the corner that will say like, oh, by the way, this will break. So. Yeah, like, so if you're an Indiana Jones fan, I think you'll love the game. But one of the things I wanted to get across in my review, because not only did I put up my own video, I also did a podcast with Colt yesterday, and I was also on the roundtable discussion that the Iron Lords podcast did with myself, Attic, King, Sovereign, and Cognito talking about the experience. But one of the things I wanted to get across about it is that it's a puzzle game, really. the core pillar of it, outside of it being a true to life Indiana Jones movie, with all the cinematics that come with that, right? Indiana Jones movies are 2 hours long. This has 4 hours of cutscenes. It's probably the most cinematic game Xbox has ever really made. I can't think of any other game that has the amount of cutscenes in it as this game does. Like, sure, Gears of War has cutscenes. Halo has cutscenes. I mean, Hellblade 2 is as Jez would say, like a walking cutscene itself, basically, or a movie. But none of them have like the length and breadth of the cutscenes here, because you could be doing something super small, picking up a book off a table, and it'll go into a 30-second cutscene. Or climbing a ladder, it's into a cutscene. But it never felt overindulgent, right? It's cinematic, yes, because this, like Jez says, this is an Indiana Jones simulator, and you want to see the main hero at all times.
Doesn't take control away from you for long periods of time. It's not like a Kojima. Oh, by the way, it's a 45-minute cutscene. It's like
doesn't have that.
They're frequent and short. So as someone like myself who's got a brain-rotted attention span, Indiana Jones was exactly the perfect amount of, okay, like, this is, I suppose, like, a carousel of new things to do is quite frequent in Indiana Jones. Like, that minute-to-minute gameplay loop is not like a typical walking simulator, quote-unquote. There's a drip feed of a variety there, which I really, really like. Drip feed between high-quality cinematics, interesting side missions, puzzles, combat moments, stealth moments. Even like there's a few parts in the game, even at the start of this first area, where I felt like, man, I almost feel like I'm playing a first-person dungeon crawler here for a minute. You know, like dark, shadowy tombs with volumetric fog wafting in and all that kind of stuff. Tons of variety, even in the first like 10 hours of the game. So I'm very happy with it. I feel like, even though like I did clown on you, Rand, a bit for criticizing the shooting.
Hey, well, guess what? You're gonna have to go clown on Colt and Cog and Addict, because they pretty much all had. I think they all had the same complaints about the gunplay. But we're not gonna get stuck on the gunplay. Man. I'm a better shooter gamer than you are, bro.
It's not true. It's not true at all.
You just constantly just getting assists in Overwatch. So I mean, you don't even really know. You think you're getting kills in Overwatch when you're getting assists.
Battle Royale, bro. You play Battle Royale and get carried, man.
Yeah.
In fours, like, I play solo. I'm a lone wolf,
You're also going to have to clown Paris in chat. So...
1v1, man.
You're the outlier here, Jez, about the gunplay.
1v1 in Nuketown, bro. Well, I was saying, like, I don't think the gunplay is amazing. I would say it's serviceable, but I don't think it's as bad as people make out, right? Because it's supposed to feel like that. It comes back to that Indiana Jones simulator. He's not a super soldier. He's a dude with a gun.
I think it's done intentionally, because he's not. Indiana Jones isn't BJ Blazkowicz, but it is sort of odd coming from the team behind Wolfenstein, where the gunplay. Well, also you don't get a lot of bullets to go along with it, and everybody, once you shoot it, because the way the enemies react to you. If you're coming at them with your fists, they will pretty much attack you either with their fists or with a melee weapon. But if you fire off a weapon, they'll all start using their guns. And then it becomes a little bit difficult to survive, because you could have a couple guys with shotguns, a couple guys with rifles, all that sort of stuff, right? So that's when I sort of felt, when I dabbled with the guns originally, when, you know, seeing that everybody knew where I was like, oh, this isn't something I want to do. I'll just go about it how I always played it. But another aspect for why the game works so well, and I said this in my video, was because Troy Baker did such a fantastic job in this game, making you believe that you are Indiana Jones. And I think the success of the game is largely on his shoulders. Because if you don't believe he's Indiana Jones and it's an Indiana Jones adventure, then I feel like regardless of how good the rest of the game is, it sort of would fall flat on its face. You know what I mean?
No, you're totally right. I think that guy Troy Baker deserves like every flower in the garden right now. I just made up a new idiom, but he did such a good job. Like you forget that it's not Harrison Ford. You sit there wondering, like, is this not just lost footage? Is this not just found footage or whatever? Or is it AI or some kind of super duper? I don't think AI could have replicated even like the best AI technology for replicating voices. I don't think it would have even come close to what Troy Baker was able to pull off here. He deserves awards for that shit. And sadly, I think he's missed the cutoff date, but that is award-winning performance stuff. It's super good. But yeah, Indiana Jones, man.
Well, it's kind of like
that...
the Maka, or not Maka, the Monkey Paw Wish is like, we want Xbox to have a Game of the Year contender with Indiana Jones, and it's like, yes, it would have, except it released in November and is not eligible for any of the awards, and nobody will remember it even next year. Because honestly, if it was released a month, say it was released in the beginning of November, I bet you it gets a whole bunch of awards. I bet you Troy Baker wins Best Performance.
Definitely.
Even though like Melissa Jorgens did a great job as Senua, and I'm sure there was a lot of other people who did great work. His work in the game sells the game, makes it feel like it's an Indiana Jones simulator as you're stepping into his shoes. And who knows, with as the reviews as high as they are, an 87 right now on Metacritic, maybe it had a shot for being nominated for Game of the Year. So
yeah, I think so. I think it's a rare game. I don't think usually games like this don't get greenlit with this kind of budget, and they don't manage to hit this kind of quality bar. Like we just had Star Wars Outlaws, for example. I know like Star Wars Outlaws isn't exactly riffing on a Star Wars movie, but it's a licensed game, and they kind of did their own spin on the Star Wars formula, and they got a lot of stuff right, with regards to feeling like authentic Star Wars. But they went wide on, I think, what fans want a bit, and the game suffered for it to some degree. But these guys were just like, no, we're sticking to our guns. This is going to be 100% Indiana Jones simulation game. We're not going to try and go broad. We're not going to try and appeal to everyone. We're going to make the ultimate Indiana Jones tribute act. And it's so authentic. I think it goes beyond just being a tribute act. It's like it could be part of the pantheon of Indiana Jones movies. Like if you're an Indiana Jones fan, like even if you're not a gamer, I kind of feel like a lot of people who aren't gamers are probably looking at this thinking like, oh man, I need to play this, So I'm happy about it. And maybe it bodes well for the future of other Xbox, first party developed games. Like if this is because this, I suppose, like was greenlit before the acquisition, right? But, this is like, I suppose, an early test of a game that has been developed largely under Microsoft to some degree. So maybe it bodes well for the future in general. I don't know. But it's definitely nice to see. I honestly did not think it would land as well as it did with reviewers. I thought it would get punished harder for its, irregular approach to combat, I suppose.
And what do you mean by that? Can you expound on that? But first, the Geeky Nerd said, sounds like a great Game Pass game, but not exactly Game of the Year quality, in my opinion. Well, you're wrong. It is a incredible game, not just like a Game Pass, what people would call fodder. I mean, but then again, subjective opinions about video games are a thing. Some people may not agree, like Paris in chat, who, along with Greg Miller and Tim Geddes, did not like Indiana Jones and are essentially the outliers on this game. But hey, that's just their opinion. They didn't like the game. No use crying over spilled milk about other people's opinions about stuff. But if you look at the consensus of people who've played it and the scores and how they talk about it, it is absolutely some people's Game of the Year. I saw plenty of journalists from Danny O'Dwyer to Lucy, I forget her name, but there are plenty of people like, this is my Game of the Year. I love this game so much. And it's in my top 5 for the year. It may not be my Game of the Year, but you can't deny its quality.
I think, I honestly think if you're not a big Indiana Jones fan, or even you hate Indiana Jones, I could see it not being a good game for you. I think without the Indiana Jones aspect, I think it would struggle. I really do think that. Say it wasn't Indiana Jones, it was generic archaeologist who acts very much like Indiana Jones, for example. I think it would not score as well as it did. But the fact that like the point of the game is to pay homage to some of the greatest movies ever made, in that mission, it does extremely well. So I think if you're an Indiana Jones fan, you'll like it a lot more than if you're not, personally. But I think even if you're pretty new to Indiana Jones, but you could be someone who ends up liking Indiana Jones, like the whole sort of, I don't know, myths made reality kind of thing, which Indiana Jones goes for. I think this could be special for you. If you like immersive sims, you like puzzling, you like just cinematic games in general. If you do like, games like Hellblade 2, I think you'll love Indiana Jones. And I'm not someone who does like those kind of games usually. I feel like every game that's a walking simulator, I would hope has a look at Indiana Jones, because it proves that you can make a game that is mostly cinematic and action heavy, but not completely walk away from being interactive for people who actually want some video game in their video game. So I really enjoyed it, but I don't know. So Rand, I would wrap this up, Rand, with give me what was your score for the game?
I mean, I gave it an 8.5. I think there are some things they can do to get into a higher score that they just didn't do, and I think when I imagine what I want them to do next, because I did say this, I have been wanting the third game in the Wolfenstein series to come out, to like close the trilogy on BJ Blazkowicz and his adventure. And now when I think about what I want Machine Games to do next, kind of want them to make Indiana Jones another game, another lost movie.
Rand,
what?
Are you saying that for a reason?
No.
Are you being a naughty boy?
No, I have no idea what they're going to do, but I like this game so much. And I feel like there's things they could do to even improve the experience.
Is that right?
That if Bethesda came to me and Phil and it was like, hey, you can determine what Machine Games is doing next. They either do Wolfenstein 3 or they do another Indiana Jones movie. I would pick Indiana Jones.
Well, the reason I say that is because a little birdie told me that there was some kind of sequel proviso in the contract.
I mean, it's not surprised. That's not surprising.
If it hits certain metrics, and it looks like it is going to hit certain metrics. So
then let's
I can imagine that. Well, yeah, I can imagine that Disney,
and don't release it in December next time.
Yeah, exactly. But I can imagine Disney be like, oh yeah, this is exactly what we want. Can we have more of this, please? Because this has probably done more for the Indiana Jones IP than either of the last two movies did. Even though it launched in a pretty bad time, and it's having to compete with some much bigger games, and I think people weren't sure whether it would be good or not. So I think it's had a difficult launch, even if it's good. But I can see Disney being like, oh, actually, we could use more of this. But at the same time, I know that Microsoft doesn't like licensed games. Disney controls every aspect of Indiana Jones, right? And I know Microsoft, like EA, because you remember EA was like, we're going to start working on licensed stuff, because basically we're spending money to build up Epic Games' partnership with Star Wars, essentially, so that we're going to stop doing licensed game and build up our own shit. There's a logic there. Like, should Microsoft spend all this money and time and effort and put Machine Games on a licensed property which is not theirs to control? Wouldn't it be better use of their time to build up Wolfenstein and get Wolfenstein to the next level? Personally, as good as Indiana Jones is, I think, I would rather see Wolfenstein. I'd rather see that IP built up. And I think that's a safer bet for Microsoft as a business, personally speaking. But you'd rather see Indiana Jones 2. Are you telling me you don't want to see Youngblood 2? right?
No, I don't want to see anything Youngblood ever again, but I do want to see. I would like to see them do another game and maybe fix up some of the quibbles I have with, as what you called, the irregular gameplay loop. Because this is where I thought some people
they could
would,
smooth it out. They could smooth it out.
because I see Hoglog saying on Twitter that the combat's abysmal, and some people didn't care for it. Some people, I mean, it's one of those games where you can engage with it as much or as little as you want. And I will say, as for the combat in the game, it doesn't. Once you kind of fight the first person, you've seen all the combat has to offer. It doesn't really evolve past that at any point. So it's like you can avoid it by using stealth, which isn't the greatest. And they do these weird things, Jez. And this is another thing. I wish maybe I could, if I had a direct line to them. They put the books, like where you learn the skills, they put some really vital skills like in the last area of the game. Well, not the last big area of the game. There's this book you find that in the jungle level that allows you to take out unaware enemies by, because in the game when you're doing stealth, if you want to take somebody out, you have to have a weapon, right? So you have to have like a hammer or something, and you'll do a unique animation, but it makes a sound, and if someone's close enough, they might hear you. But there's a book you can find in the in the jungle level that allows you to take out an enemy without a weapon from behind. You just hold the right trigger, you'll tap them on the shoulder, spin them around, and punch them in the face. And they're knocked out. And I sort of feel like that's a wrong time to give me this book, because essentially the game's over at this point. We're in the last area of the game. Why are you giving me a book that makes stealth a more viable option so late in the game? And they had another book as well. It was in the Vatican, but it seemed a lot of people missed it, where if enemies are unaware of you and you're behind them, you can use a whip, the whip, to basically grab them around the neck and pull them down on the ground, and they're knocked out too, which makes stealth also a lot more viable, because instead of being crouched and getting up right behind somebody, the whip has a long range. So you can just basically be standing a good distance away from somebody, hold right bumper behind them, and you'll just take them down by the neck with the whip, and they're down for with like no sound. Nobody's going to see it. And I feel like some of the way they position how you upgrade yourself should have been put in more obvious situations, because some people might be try out the stealth in the beginning and they may not like how it was implemented, so maybe they avoid it, or maybe those moves should have maybe the punch move should have been default from the beginning, so stealth was more of a thing. Because what's really preventing Indiana Jones from punching someone out in the face? Nothing really. It's just, I need a book to get that. So there's some of those choices I didn't really agree with that made stealth more fun and something I wanted to do versus let me slowly creep around with a shovel to do this. You know what I mean? So like finding those things.
Sorry, go on.
No, it's like finding those things were important, but I was also somebody during my playthrough when I beat the game, I had done everything in the game except for a small set of the collectibles. I did all the side missions, which are called field work in this game. They're all worth doing, guys. They're all meaty bits of gameplay, cutscenes, puzzles. And even the mysteries themselves, like the smaller local puzzles within the game, they're worth doing to find maps and money and all the different sort of things you get in it. Sometimes they have some goodies in them. So I did everything as I moved on. So by the time I finished the game, I had 30 hours in the game. And I think I have like 40 some odd hours now because I'm going back to trying to figure everything out. So
that feels you.
Yeah, I mean, it exceeded my expectations greatly. And I want another one from Machine Games. So that's my thoughts on Indiana Jones. Are you going to go back and finish it, Jez? I know you got a lot on your plate with everything.
Hope so. I mean, it's so annoying because like I was just getting towards the last parts of Dragon Age, and then I got pulled away for Indiana Jones, and then like, well, I was gonna review Indiana Jones, and then I was just like, there's just no way. There's no way I can hit all these corporate deadlines on top of the Indiana Jones, so I had to pass on reviewing that as well. So I want to say yeah, but I'm just loading into Path of Exile 2 right now.
Oh, is it Path of Exile 2 working now finally?
Yeah, Path of Exile 2 is kind of up, but I'm in a queue of 15,000 people right now. So take that for what you will. And the servers are live, but I don't think they're in the best of conditions. But yeah, I don't know. I do want to finish it because I am really enjoying it, and kind of like you, I played it in a very large, just single session, which is something I often don't usually do because I'm being pulled in loads of different directions. And I'm trying to multitask and things like that. But Indiana Jones, I find, because of the very sort of the variety of things the variety of activities you're doing and the way it engages you, you can sink hours and hours into this game if you get into it. So hopefully I'll finish it before the end of the year. But like I say, so many things I do want to finish. Silent Hill 2, Final Fantasy 16.
Persona 5, you only got
Persona
a
5.
couple weeks left to finish it. So
yeah, Persona 5, Path of Exile is here now. I never actually got to endgame in the Diablo expansion either.
I mean, it's not surprising.
I did the review, but then they wiped my review character, so I had to start over again. And I was just like, I ain't got time to start over.
I would have been like, no thanks, I'm not doing this again because Diablo is a boring game as is.
Yeah, well, bro, if it's so boring, then why do so many people play it?
I don't know.
Oh, the servers are dead again. Never mind.
Yeah, because Jules with the 199 in the super chat says, "Are you diving into Path of Exiles 2 today, Jez?" He wants to, but the servers are not cooperating.
Yeah, the servers are dead again. So I was in a queue of 15,000 people, but then he died.
Are people upset that the servers aren't working like they were for Microsoft Flight Sim and stuff? Are they going crazy? How's the ratings on Steam? Is it like super negative or what?
I think people were expecting this to happen because at the end of the day, Path of Exile, like, they are an indie company. I know they do have investment from Tencent, but they aren't Blizzard, right? And even Blizzard has issues here. But yeah, the servers are down again. Unexpected disconnection. Blah 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 blah. So
now you're gonna get back in the queue, and there's gonna be 1 million people ahead of you.
Yeah, I think people are a bit more forgiving, like JB1521 says in chat. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's Indiana Jones. What do you want to talk about now, Rand? Do you want to talk about Xbox Year in Review quickly?
Yeah, but someone sent me a tweet from Andy Robinson that he put up this morning, which I didn't see till now. He says, expecting a very big Game Awards next week. Fire up the hype train. And someone says, is that a guess or a hint? And he says, definitely not a guess. So.
Interesting.
Does the hype rise?
I don't know. Not for Xbox. Not for me.
Well, how do you know that? I mean, there could be something that you like that Xbox doesn't do. What if there's a World of Warcraft thingamabob?
I mean, I think it'll be obviously it's going to be big for first party. I mean, third party and publishers and stuff and multiplats. But I think when you asked me, like, is it going to be big for Xbox? I thought you meant like first party.
No, I mean, he's just saying it's going to be very hype in general.
He's a Switch guy, right, though? Isn't he a Nintendo guy? I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, do you think Nintendo reveals the Switch at the Game Awards like Xbox did for the Series X? Would that be
maybe
something? I mean, that seems like something Nintendo wouldn't do.
That'd be a huge get for
Jeffrey,
Keighley,
yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so Xbox... Oh, let me get to the Super Chat here. We got Alvin with the 1.2 million people watching Path of Exiles 2 login on Twitch. As how many people are watching people on Twitch try to play the game? It's kind of crazy.
That's funny.
And Adam Unfriended with $5 says, is the game better than the Indiana Jones movie that came out this year? Absolutely. Was not a fan
Did you watch that?
Yeah, I was not a fan of the new Indiana Jones movie whatsoever. I know.
I haven't watched it. I'm too scared.
Some people really like it. I wasn't the biggest fan. I'm not a fan. It's better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That movie was awful. I don't know. There's this. Who wants to watch Indiana Jones do stuff at 80 years old? It's just.
Is he 80?
I mean, Harrison Ford's up there in age.
Yeah, in 80.
I think. I
like
think.
50,
I think he
isn't
is. No, I think he's. I think he's like like almost 90. Let me look. Google.
No, I'm looking at it. How old is Harrison Ford? He is
82 years old.
No,
Yeah.
you're lying.
Nope. Well, Google would be lying.
Oh my God, he's 82 years old.
Yeah. I don't know.
No, I feel old now.
So
Why
just
is everyone getting old?
I don't know. We're all getting older. The Series S saved somebody's life.
Sure did.
What do you think about that? That someone got hit by a car on their bike and was being dragged, but the Series S saved them from dying and hurting their head and stuff. Like, you expect this to... I don't know. I don't know what to think of that. That's kind of a fun story, right?
Yeah, I saw it. It was climbing up on Reddit, and then I think one of my news team covered it. So, a dude was hit by a truck, and then he was dragged along the floor on his back. But because the Series S was in his backpack, it protected his back from like getting all scratched up or whatever. And instead, it was just the Series S chassis got absolutely obliterated.
But it still worked.
But it still works.
Yeah, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, so it's like it went full Nokia. I think that was our headline. Because there's all those
what does it mean by
articles
that?
about Nokia taking a bullet.
Did a Nokia, so someone shot at someone and a Nokia stopped the bullet? A Nokia?
Yeah, like Nokias are like kind of notorious for being hard wearing. Like you can drop them off buildings and they won't break and stuff. The old Nokias, the Nokia like 3210 and stuff like that. So like it's just a meme that Nokias don't break. But yeah, I thought that was a fun story. But Xbox is apparently going to give him a new one. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Definitely like one of those stories you saw and you're like, oh man, that's really cool. Series S. It's like, can't play Black Myth Wukong on it, but it can save your life. So what's more important, right?
Black Myth Wukong or saving a life?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
So Microsoft also shared some details on Xbox Year in Review. And I like how they brought this back, because for a few years there, or a couple years, they weren't doing it. And I remember giving them shit because Nintendo, of all companies, was. This was not last year's, but I think it was a couple years before that, where for whatever reason, Microsoft wasn't doing these year in reviews that everybody does. It's like free marketing, free advertising. And well, I guess it's not free because somebody's got to collect the data and build the website, but you could probably have interns do that. But every single year, you get your Spotify Wrapped, you get your YouTube Wrapped, you know, and thank you for everybody
now as well.
Thank you for everybody who tweeted us, showing off their Spotify Wrapped, where you know our podcast was in their top 5. A lot of people mentioned, and it was like, oh, there's us at number 1 ahead of the Joe Rogan podcast, which is crazy to think about, you know.
It is.
But I appreciated seeing all that. So Xbox wasn't doing these year in reviews, and then they started to again. PlayStation does it. Nintendo was doing it. So anything you wanted to share from your year in review, Jez? Were you surprised by any of the statistics?
Not completely surprised. If I'm just going to load it up here. Xbox year in review. My number 1 game, Rand, which you might have seen, but can you guess what it was?
Diablo, I would imagine.
Nope. It was Elden Ring.
Oh, okay.
Elden Ring. So Elden Ring, definitely, obviously, because of
How many hours did you put in Elden Ring?
It doesn't say, or does it say? 107 hours. It says.
And that was just what, for Shadows, for the Erdtree, or for the whole game? Did you start playing Elden Ring this year?
So if you remember, I stopped playing Shadow of the Erdtree when I got to Leyndell the first time round. Do you remember?
Vaguely, yes.
So like I got hyped for Erdtree and then I went back to it. So that was like Erdtree, but also the second half of the game. and then all the extra bosses like Melania and stuff like that. So, yeah, that was my top achievement, Elden Lord, unlocked on July 10th, 2024. Only 13% of Xbox players unlocked Elden Lord, apparently. And I'm in the top 20% in the world for Elden Ring most active players, apparently. So that was a 388 million gamer score unlocked via Elden Ring. That's a lot. Now, can you guess what my second game is, Rand?
I have no idea. What was your second game? Give me a
Now,
hint. Give me a hint.
It's a fantasy game,
It's a
and it did
fantasy
shock me.
game.
It did shock me.
I can't think of it. What is it?
It's Dragon Age.
Dragon Age.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
which is sad because I haven't finished it. And then my third game is Diablo. So
Your third game's
and then-
only Diablo. You played Dragon
haven't
Age
played
4
Diablo.
more. Well, Diablo did come out last year, so
yeah, and like I haven't played Diablo much. I was waiting for the expansion, but then I never really got time to play it. And then I've got Call of Duty there, Dragon's Dogma, Fallout 76. I played quite a lot this year. Frostpunk 2. It's been tracking that, I guess, on the Xbox version, on the PC version, which is interesting. And then Stalker 2 and Cyberpunk 2077. Death Stranding's in my top 20, which is a surprise because I haven't played it that much. And Overwatch 2. And 2 versions of Stalker for some reason. I guess maybe it's counting the PC and Xbox version because I've been playing it across both versions. And also Power World's in there. So, yeah. How many hours did you clock in this year, Rand? I clocked in 490 hours on Xbox this year.
it was like
90% on Xbox and like 10% on PC cloud.
mine was like pretty close to 700. My number one game was my most played game was Cyberpunk. And I put out a tweet saying, "Oh, no surprise, game of the generation, Cyberpunk was my number one game this year." Because I have about a little over 100 hours in it. And it was a game that you were pushing me to play, Cult was pushing me to play, Cognito was pushing me to play, Chat was pushing me to play, and I'm so glad I played it because I loved that experience. But it's weird because I put that out there on Twitter, and wouldn't you know it, there are some clowns
People mad at you?
that were mad. People that don't follow me that forever saw the tweet and didn't like that I said it was game of the generation. One guy was like, "Xbots have low standards." I was like, "Oh, really? Okay." There was quite a few people that were upset, and then somebody was like, "You're such a liar. You said it was Starfield or something." And I said, "No, Starfield wasn't my game of the year." So the guy posted a clip of me saying from like when we talked about Starfield about how it might be my game of the year. He's like, "All you do is lie." And I'm like, "You do realize Alan Wake 2 came out a month after that, and I changed my mind. I said Alan Wake 2 is my game of the year. But go on, Chief. Be the clown that you are." You know what I mean? It's crazy.
People are so annoying, man.
It's crazy when you could tweet, "I like this," and half of the replies to you will be, "You're a fucking idiot." Right?
It's Twitter, man. It's Twitter. Come to Blue Sky. People are nice over there.
It's just, I don't understand. Like, when people tweet about what things they like, I'm not running to my keyboard to be like, "You're wrong. It's actually shit." It's like, let people enjoy the stuff they like. I don't understand this whole telling people,
Yeah.
you know.
It's like people who are chronically online and they think that if you like something and then that they don't like, that it's somehow that they're sensitive about that. Like, people are so sensitive about everything online now. It's so cringe, man. And but yeah, that happens to me all the time, bro. It happens to me all the time. Like even sometimes when I tweet about WWE, people come in the mentions like, "Oh, don't watch WWE, watch AEW, it's way better." It's like,
Yeah, dude.
bro, I was just talking about WWE. Like,
There's the console wars between, Xbox, PlayStation's, PC, and then you have the wrestling wars, right? You have the AEW versus which can just be just as bad. And I'm sure, then there's the sports teams and stuff. It's just people like to impose their own opinions on top of yours, especially if you say you like this or you don't like something. you can rest assured that a lot of the replies will be like either why you're wrong or whatever. And I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just don't ever feel compelled to, like, if somebody tweeted out, like Paris, for example. Paris was on a kind of funny review, gave Indiana Jones a 7. Greg gave it like a 6.5. I disagree with them, but it's their opinion. Like, I'm not gonna then go on and when their tweets and be like, "This is why you're wrong." It's a subjective opinion about an experience they had. But sure enough, you'll have plenty of people go on and on and on about how their experience was mistaken, and it should have been more like this. It happens all the time. People that like a game a lot, and then people will say that it's not good. It's just, sometimes it's just very unhealthy. Twitter and X can be a very unhealthy place for those reasons.
Yeah, it's a horrible place, but, got to post the links, bro. And, yeah, what do we talk about next, bro? Should we get some of those super chats? Stop them backing up?
I don't think we have any more super chats to get to. Oh, we got Jason with the $2.99. Says, Jez, are you playing Classic Fresh? ?
Classic Fresh. What's that?
I have no idea what that means.
I don't know what that means. Sorry, buddy. Can you clarify?
What is Classic Fresh? Is that
a difficulty in something?
Is that mode in World of Warcraft?
I don't know. Oh, yeah, it is. How did you know that? But I didn't.
I mean, because I know there's a World of Warcraft Classic mode. I just...
Yeah. So Classic Fresh. I suppose like they're doing a classic. They're resetting WoW Classic so you can start over again if you missed the first wave of WoW Classic. I'm not doing Classic because I barely have time for retail at the moment. I don't like playing Classic WoW because I feel like I've been there and done that. I'd rather go and see new bosses, because I played Classic hardcore, man. I was playing like 7 days a week back then and raiding like 5 days a week, like pushing server first, doing Nax 40 and all that kind of stuff. That was like my no-life, unemployed 20-something period, right? So I kind of feel like I've been there and done that with WoW Classic, and I don't really know anyone plays it, so I'm not planning to play it myself. But I am looking forward to Season 2 of Retail. We go into the Goblin City Undermine. I'm really hyped about that, bro.
All right. Really, really hyped about it.
But I'm not going to attack people who like Classic because I'm not a dick. Even though Retail is better.
But you can attack Jez for not finishing Persona 5, though.
Yeah, you can attack me for that. Although it is my current not ISIS, my Lenovo Legion Go game. So that's like what I'm playing while I'm traveling at the moment. So maybe I'll actually finish it if I'm playing it while I'm traveling, because I am flying back to Germany in a couple of weeks on a Wednesday, so it won't affect the podcast. Don't worry, Rand. So I'll be playing some Persona then. I'm going to finish Persona over Christmas. I got a week off for Christmas. That's the week to do it. Persona 5 is getting finished before the end of the year, and Rand will owe me $1,000.
Okay, sure.
That was a deal, right?
We'll see.
If I complete Persona, I get $1,000. That was a deal, right?
Well, no. If you did it, you wouldn't have to stop playing World of Warcraft, because if you didn't do it, you can't play World of Warcraft for all of 2025.
Well, that's not happening.
Yeah, well, we knew that wasn't happening.
Oh man.
Shawn Layden's been in the news. He had a big interview over the weekend where he goes on and talks about how basically the AAA video game industry is unsustainable, and that they need to basically make shorter games.
He also said, so for those who don't know, Shawn Layden is who? The former
head of
CEO?
PlayStation. I don't know what exactly his job title was, but he always made the presentations for PlayStation.
Was he the Matt Booty allegory?
He could have been.
Like the studio, the gameplay lead or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember what his actual job title was, but he's very famous in the industry for his association with PlayStation.
This is what he had.
He made some interesting comments this week.
Yeah, he said, the question was, so then how do we face that threat head on, the industry, about games and stuff? And He says we need to address two things specifically. One thing is the exploding cost of game development. Every generation it costs twice as much to build a game. What cost $1 million on PS1, then cost 2, then 4, then 16. It goes exponentially. The PS4 generation, which was the last one I was associated with, game dev was $150 million if you wanted to be top of the line. And that's before marketing. So by that math, PS5 games should eventually reach 300 to 400 million. And then it's just outright not sustainable. And we know they hit that mark considering of the Insomniac leaks, where we know like Spider-Man 2 and the games that they're doing in the future are like that. Oh, I'm about to sneeze. Sorry about that. I couldn't stop. I was like in the middle of sneezing.
I was like, what's Rand doing? Is he disconnected? No, he's sneezing.
So $300 and $400 million. And he says, it's like we're at the end of the 18th century and we're realizing that building cathedrals is really expensive. Can we continue to build these massive edifices to God for this incredible amount of labor and time? Or should we just build 4 walls and a roof and that's a church, right? I'm afraid we built AAA gaming into a kind of cathedral business and it just can't grow any further. In fact, it's probably grown too far already. How do we cap that? How do we bring that back? I think part of that answer is, and it sounds simplistic, but hear me out, I think games are too long. I haven't even opened Red Dead Redemption 2 because I don't have 90 hours. And I'm retired and I don't have 90 hours. For the longest time, we kept banging on about 100 hours of gameplay. This is going to be awesome. It's 100 hours of gameplay. Like that's the most important thing to know. That was a metric in the early years when the average gamer was 18 to 23, and when you're 18 to 23, you're time rich and money poor. But as the average age of the gamer moved into the late 20s, the early 30s, well, it's the opposite, right? Maybe you aren't money rich, but you're definitely time poor. So I think our approach is a mismatch to the market, to reality. What do you think about those quotes, Jez?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's things we've said on the show, you know, like and to be honest, it's not what he said isn't new. Like a lot of people in the industry have been saying these alarm bells. Like people at Xbox talk to me about these things at E3, Summer Game Fest, and all that kind of stuff. It's an existential crisis that the industry is kind of facing right now. But there is something that he missed out there, right? That games need to be shorter. The reason games got longer in the first place was to try and compete with service games, because service games are technically short, but you can play them indefinitely. So like the Ubisoft games, like I see Valhalla and whatever, they basically turn single player games into games that you could play non-stop to try and compete with those forever black hole games. And they filled them with padding and bullshit and boring stuff. And that's why Ubisoft has sort of gotten itself into this situation now where people think like all their games are the same because they just went for maximum padding and decreased quality. I don't agree that games need to be shorter. I just think that the production, the budget needs to have different priorities. For example, I don't think you need to attach Hollywood names to your game. I don't think you need mountains of motion capture. I don't think you need, quadruple A graphics. You know, look at Elden Ring. Elden Ring's a great case study, but doing a triple A game with less. And I'm not saying that Elden Ring was necessarily cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than a lot of these, bloated triple A Western games that are coming out right now that try and have Hollywood actors and try and have, Hollywood grade motion capture and all this kind of stuff. Time intensive stuff, right? Elden Ring is like has practically no voice acting, or very, very little voice acting. Voice acting is expensive for one thing. It doesn't have mountains of motion capture. Obviously you can't motion capture a monster. All that stuff's hand done, right? And hand done animations aren't cheap either, but you don't have to hire performance artists and stuff like that. And they reuse a lot of those animation rigs, like the Erdtree. What are they called now? The Erdtree Guardian things. They literally use the same skeletons from Dark Souls 1, And I didn't notice when I first played it because they tweaked it enough where it's sort of like you don't really see it that well. But you look at Monster Hunter as well. Monster Hunter's been using the same Rathalos skeleton since the PS2. But they make banger games out of those assets. It's like it's like a smarter way of developing games and saving money and stuff like that. I think if you make a game that has maximum gameplay quality over bloated Hollywood stuff, I think ultimately you will arrive at a game that is more cost effective. And I think that's what Japan's doing a lot right now, that America hasn't really caught up with yet or figured out. You know, how can we make a game that's just amazing from a pure gameplay perspective without spending a shitload of money on the Hollywood stuff? I think that's at least part of it, you know, and that's not the whole answer. But I do think just saying games need to be shorter, I think that's wrong in the service game era, because these games that are sort of art and single player, they have to exist in a Call of Duty Fortnite world. They have to have a certain amount of content, and they have to make people feel like, because of what he said, where he says like people have less free time, but you know there's also the money constraint there. People have to feel like they get bang for their buck. If you're spending like $70 on a game, and they'll probably try and put it up to $80 next gen. You never know. If you're spending $70 on a game, you're damn right I don't want it to be shorter than like 10 hours or something. Personally speaking, especially when a lot of these black hole games are free, so you have to take that into consideration as well. Mm-hmm. So the other thing he said, which I thought was interesting, is he said, I'm paraphrasing it, but he said something along the lines of, consoles can't get more powerful. They can't get more powerful.
Yeah, I mean, he said we're getting to the realm, frankly, where the only dogs can hear the difference. And he asked, like, so consoles are never going to get a big leap in power again? And he goes, I don't think so. I mean, what would that leap even look like? It would be perfectly realized human actors in a game that you completely control. That could happen one day. I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime. We're at a point now where the innovation curve on the hardware is starting to plateau or top out. At the same time, the commoditization of the silicon means that when you open up an Xbox or PlayStation, it's really pretty much the same chipset. It's all built by AMD. Each company has their own OS and proprietary secret sauce, but in essence, it's the same. I think we're pretty much close to final spec for what a console could be. So
yeah, and he also said things like we're not growing the user base, which is something we've talked about a lot on this channel, is the fact that the total number of gamers isn't growing. It's just the amount of money they make per person has grown. Every game is ramping microtransactions now. Every platform has a subscription service attached to it. There's a lot of upsell that didn't exist before, but the total user base hasn't grown. The total user base of people who are willing to sit there and play a game instead of scroll on TikTok, and he specifically mentioned things like TikTok and Instagram and YouTube as competing for your spare time. And a lot of those little kids growing up, they have like completely fried attention spans because of algorithms. A lot, kind of like me, I suppose.
Well, I mean, this is exactly what he said. He says, even when you hear that gaming revenue went up 23% during the pandemic, it wasn't from new people necessarily. It was more money from the same people. And this is the existential threat I talk about when I'm meeting with developers and publishers, that you're just getting more money off the same people. It's a business model I understand and you understand, and that's fine, but we're not growing the next generation. We're losing the next generation to TikTok. The competition for gaming isn't Xbox and Nintendo. It's everything else in the freaking zeitgeist that can take your time away from your gaming activity.
That's exactly what I said, and people said it was cope. Do you remember?
Yeah.
So people are saying Shawn Layden with cope. I need to open the window, man. It's too hot in here.
Too hot, but it's December in UK or Germany. Are you in? Which one are you in now?
I'm in the UK. Alexa, what's the temperature?
8 degrees Celsius.
8 Celsius, man. That's warm.
What's in Fahrenheit?
Alexa, what's 8 Celsius in Fahrenheit? 46.
Oh, it's nice weather. It's t-shirt and shorts, bro.
Yeah, that's why I'm opening the window, bro.
Oh, okay.
But I think it is true that, you know, when Microsoft's trying to push out to TVs and reduce the barriers to access games, this is what they're reacting to, is this sort of idea that, oh crap, we're not getting any more users. And I kind of feel like it's not just that. It's like the smartphoneification of gaming. You know, a lot of people of our generation, we want games to be a certain way and play a certain way and be a certain way. And little kids, they're growing up into an industry that is completely different to what they know. You know, they're growing up thinking Roblox is the norm, you know, where you play multiple games within one game or one platform. So, and there's less money going around for games that we want to play, you know, which is why I think like people celebrate so hard when there is a good high quality game that fits the mold of what people of our generation want. You know, like a Baldur's Gate 3 or like a Elden Ring or like a Path of Exile. You know, it's everyone's going crazy for Path of Exile right now because it's like it's closer to Diablo 2 than Diablo 4 is in theory. You know, so it's a weird universe we live in, man. You know, I don't know what the future's going to look like for gaming, but I think he's right that there's obviously a crisis and trying to figure out how best to move in a more positive direction. But I think platform holders have created this crisis. They've created this crisis, you know. There is this sort of there was a neglect of trying to onboard the next generation. It's kind of like the Attitude Era in the WWE, where they made the product focus on adults and then they lost the young audience, you know? You kind of have to cater to both because that young audience is your older audience of tomorrow. And PlayStation and Xbox both completely neglected the young audience for the longest time. And I see PlayStation with their grassroots of like, you know, Astrobot, which has gone over well with kids, and then like they've tried this Lego game with Horizon, which I don't think anyone really cares about. But you could see that they're trying, right? And Microsoft's philosophy as well, we've got Minecraft, we don't need to try.
Yeah.
You know? But in that philosophy, they've kind of potentially sacrificed their platform because in order to proliferate that Minecraft platform now, they're going to have to rely on Google and Apple, which, as we discussed before, is not a great strategy either, because if Google and Apple has all the keys to your shit, then you have to spend extra money to actually cut through all that bullshit. So, I don't know. But they've created this situation. They need to figure out how to fix it themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you're right in the sense that, you know, the free-to-play game model on consoles also sort of it plays a large effect of it, because it's like, why play Indiana Jones or why play another game when I could play Marvel Rivals for free?
Yeah.
Or Fortnite or any of these other games. So it's like you have the free-to-play model games competing with, you know, your full-price titles, and some people might just, you know, think it's not worth it. I mean, the younger generation thinks everything's free. Everything's free because that's the way they were brought up on iPhones and elsewhere, because it was a race to the bottom. So they don't see and even with like content, it's all streaming and you pay a subscription fee and you can just watch whatever you want. You know, so it's the concept of paying for art might be an outdated you know, like idea for a lot of the younger generation that just gets their news and views, and they'll watch TikTok for hours upon hours. And the idea of paying $100 for a game is ridiculous, you know? So how do you solve that? I don't know, but that's what these companies are there to do. That's not saying you probably couldn't be successful in the video game industry as long as you keep your expenses and everything in control. I mean, 250 million people is still a lot of people that you could sell your product to. But I guess the concern is in 20 years from now, if you're not replenishing the stock, so to speak, as referring to, you know, like we're cattle, does that 250 million audience become 150 million because you lost all these older gamers, but you didn't replenish them with anybody young? So now you're fighting and trying to get more money out of less people? I guess that would be the fear, right? Is that games cost so much to make because everybody demands them look the best, to run at 4K, to be at 60 frames, that have the greatest animations, which require a large workforce. So you're spending $300 million on something, but then you have a segmented audience, and you're like, all right, well, what do we do? Do we charge $150 a game now to really wring the blood out of the stone because that we need to? They have some inner soul searching to do in the future and how this is all going to play out. So
I think AI has a role to play here. Like
yeah,
instead of getting a human to make that dumb background asset or that floor texture or that puddle, you just get an AI to do it or something. You know, I think there is some role for AI to play there, and have your human artists working on the more important assets, like the things that people actually look at, like the character models, monsters, things like that. But like, I don't know what kind of balance they'll strike with that. Because obviously, I think if you made a whole game using AI, it's going to look like trash, right? It might be a little bit cheaper. It's going to look like trash. So there are ways that can reduce costs potentially, I think, but it's on them to figure it out, man. We'll see where it goes. It's a weird time in the economy, man.
yeah. So he also talked about the idea of PlayStation putting their games on Xbox, because that was kind of another focus of the thing here. And he doesn't think it's a good idea for them to do. For PlayStation to put games on Xbox. He says the question was, if console hardware becomes somewhat irrelevant, does competing on content see Sony putting PlayStation games on Xbox as Microsoft's done on PlayStation? And he basically says that because PlayStation's the leader and is in more places, that he doesn't think the juice is worth the squeeze of putting PlayStation franchises on Xbox just for the extra revenue. He says, as the saying goes, I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze. How many additional sales would they get versus the brand impact and all that aggro? You know, the Sony fan base gets really upset when a game comes out on PC 18 months after the original release on PlayStation. I never understood that aggravation, but it's there. And if that was what they're going to say about a PC release, just imagine what the market would say about an Xbox release from PlayStation Studios. So he doesn't think it's worth it for PlayStation, but he was asked, well, how about PlayStation games on Nintendo? Because we just saw Lego Horizon. And Layden says, historically, PlayStation and Nintendo platforms have lived happily side by side in living rooms across the world. It's almost a natural pairing. So, I mean, just judging from his answer, he thinks that it wouldn't be a big deal for PlayStation to put their games on PlayStation. Because there's a symbiosis there. Which is odd, because you're like, well, wait a minute. And I guess there's some sense where the Switch can't run games like the PlayStation can or Xbox can. So, like, for example, I don't think Marvel Rivals is on the Switch. But nobody ever really bitches when the Switch doesn't get a game. Like, when big AAA games come out and it misses the Switch, nobody really cares. Because I think for a lot of people, they have a companion, whether it's a PC, whether it's an Xbox, or whether it's a PlayStation, where they can play that game at, right? So he feels that putting PlayStation games on Xbox would... He's like, it's not worth the money because it's not worth the brand damage. But putting PlayStation games on Nintendo would be fine. But I sort of have to wonder, would it be though? Because if the Switch 2 comes out and it's powerful enough where you can play, if AAA games start coming to the platform more often, and if PlayStation games are on the Switch, then the person might just decide to only play those games they wouldn't need a PlayStation then. They can play everything on the Switch. I don't know. I mean, maybe there's some data that would point to people being okay with it on one scenario and not the other scenario. But I thought that was an interesting response about, not worth it for Xbox, but 100% okay with for Nintendo. So,
yeah, I mean, it's a weird sort of hypocrisy, but it's going to get really interesting, like what we talked about earlier, when Steam is reportedly making its own console, right? Or making its own console operating system. And those games are all going to run... those consoles, no matter who makes them, like Dell, Asus, Lenovo, whatever, they are all going to run Xbox and PlayStation's games. So, what I'm feeling is that PlayStation's logic is we'll support everyone else except Xbox. We'll try and squeeze Xbox out of the market, and then we'll go for the others later. You know, so like they've singled out Xbox as the weak. I don't know, the runt of the litter, and they'll support the other players and try and sort of gradually squeeze Xbox out of the market. That's what I think they're going to try and do. And, you know, it's probably a good strategy. I just kind of feel like Microsoft should have seen this coming when they started supporting PlayStation. That's why I think Xbox's strategy of supporting PlayStation is really naive, you know, or they know it's naive, but they don't care because they don't really care about hardware. And I think that's why so many people don't have full faith in what Xbox says right now, because they're sort of working through a managed decline. Like Surface, for example. Like Microsoft never formally admitted that Surface is dead. They've just sort of let the stock dwindle, let it fade out, let everyone forget about it, and let it die. You know, and I think that's why people don't want to give Microsoft the benefit of the doubt, because they do shit like that. They're doing it with Surface right now. I mean, it was pretty much discovered today that the Surface Studio, which is their all-in-one, it's like their iMac, right? That's the stock has run out on that, and there's no successor coming. Zach Bowden reported today that there's not planned to be a successor to that console, that PC. So now Surface, you're left with two SKUs, the tablet and the laptop, and then probably you're going to be end up with one SKU and then no SKUs. So, you know, I think PlayStation's going to do everything they can to kill Xbox, and that's why it's just absurd that Microsoft supports PlayStation in this way, because they're helping PlayStation to kill Xbox. But maybe they know that. Maybe they know that and they're willing to accept that. Or maybe they know that and that's why there's going to be a limit on how much they do bring to PlayStation. Maybe they are going to go with this strategy of we'll wait till it's completely sold through on Xbox and then we'll come in later, like 12 months to 18 months later. Kind of like how PlayStation treats PC. Maybe they'll do it that way, you know? Meanwhile, growing their revenue by massive amounts and outpacing PlayStation on revenue, and then maybe delivering timed exclusives that are just way better than what PlayStation can offer, which I admit is far-fetched, right? But maybe that's their strategy and what they think they can achieve. And, you know, we'll have to see how it plays out, you know, if it plays out the way they want it to.
I mean, even with them trying to outpace PlayStation with revenue, they still got some ways to go. Because even with Activision, they're still not really that close to PlayStation in terms of revenue.
Yeah.
But you know, you brought up the PlayStation, the multi-platform thing, which there was a big report by Tom Warren that was kind of paywalled on his notepad about Sarah Bond being the mastermind of the Xbox Everywhere initiative, essentially. I didn't read the article because I'm not subscribed to Tom Warren's notepad. Sorry, Tom. So I don't know if there's any other information. I guess one of the quotes was she's staking her personal or professional reputation on the maneuver. And obviously this has been very, not only this news, but like the multi-platform push in general has been, you know, highly criticized for a lot of people. Some people love it. Some people love the idea of Xbox games going everywhere and having all the access in all these different places. Some people are concerned about it and what it means for the future and all that sort of stuff. And we've discussed it to death. But do you think it's true? I mean, I find it hard to believe that one person was like the mastermind behind this whole idea. I feel like it's a company-wide initiative, and I'm sure there are people within Xbox that didn't agree with that line of thinking. You know, I know there were. So well, I don't know. What are you hearing about, and what do you know about this whole thing about it being Sarah Bond's idea?
I hate to contradict Tom, but I know for a fact it wasn't Sarah's idea. And I know for a fact that it wasn't a single person pushing for this. It's just a sort of collaborative reaction to the reality of the current landscape, you know. So I don't know why Tom's sources suggested that it was all Sarah Bond's fault, because that's just completely wrong. There has been pushback, you know, internally. I know there's been arguments internally about whether or not this is a good idea, about the things we literally just talked about. For example, you know, PlayStation using the money to hurt Xbox more, which is what Phil himself said, you know. And that sentiment persists, which is why I think, like, I don't think they are going to be like, I think maybe someday it could get to a point where it's just like day and day, whole slate, maybe in like 10 years or something, if things go really bad. But at least for right now, it's still the games that we all know about. You know, the four that we knew about previously, Indiana Jones and Doom the Dark Ages, and then updates to the service games, and then probably some other service games, like maybe the next ZeniMax Online game, you know, service games that need to be everywhere to cut through that zeitgeist or whatever. So I think there is nuance to this story. And to be fair to Tom, I don't know what nuances he put in the article because I don't have access because it's Piewald. But a lot of people just ran with that particular aspect of it. And Tom himself probably didn't write it that way in the article, to be fair. Because I've seen that happen before where, because you can't access the full article, people take it wildly out of context and then debate based on things that he didn't say. So I don't want to totally contradict Tom because I don't know exactly what he said. But I'm going to contradict the narrative that it's all Sarah Bond's fault because that's just not true. It's apparently not true. But like I said earlier, we just need to see how it's all going to play out. If we get to a point where it's like Halo, the next Halo's day and date on PlayStation, I think there's a problem, you know. I think that is an issue. I think that is giving Sony way too much credit, especially when Sony's strategy is to kill Xbox. I don't know anyone at Xbox who would support that strategy, but Satya Nadella sure would support it, I think.
Oh yeah, he didn't know he would. So would Tim Stewart, I think. So would Amy Hood.
Yeah. And because they only count the dollar signs, right? And on paper, it's like, well, if we support PlayStation, then we make this much extra money in the short term. But they never think about like the next year or the years ahead. What will the landscape look like if Xbox hardware completely dies off? You know, what will it look like if you give away your whole political advantage by having Xbox as a sort of anchor platform in order to compete with PlayStation and other companies purely on the basis of shaping what the industry looks like? If you give away all of that clout, then you're ending up in a situation they're in with Google and Apple right now, where Google and Apple won't let them do shit with AI, with search, all this other stuff. It's like the same mistakes they made with Windows Phone all over again. And it's so weird because Satya himself admitted that in an interview, that like if they kept Windows Phone going, maybe they wouldn't be in so much dire straits with some other aspects of their business right now. But you know, hindsight's 2020. And really, what the shareholders want is a return on investment as soon as possible, before everything else. You know, forget the rest of it. You know, nothing else matters, right?
Yeah.
So,
I think Space Shot says he did read the article. He says it's filled with unnamed sources and no direct quotes, as if Phil is not behind it. Sounds like someone who wants to set her up to be the fall guy.
Yeah, it's just not true. You know, I had to say it's just not true that Sarah was the arbiter of this whole situation.
Tuto Tom like says, "Go guys, simply buy a PlayStation, switch your team, problem solved. I have a PlayStation." So
I don't
have
need
one,
a PlayStation.
and I play it when games are on it. But I prefer to play my games on Xbox, and that I'll continue. And then in the future, if I change, I'll probably just play games on PC. But you act like I don't play games or I don't have a PlayStation, and I do. You know, I played 7 games on PlayStation this year. Silent Hill 2, Stellar Blade, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Trying to think of the other games I played on PlayStation, but
Astrobot.
Astrobot, yeah, I played Astrobot as well. So yeah, my PlayStation gets use when they have a game there I want to play. That's I can't play on my Xbox. So I don't know. I always kind of feels funny when people come in here and they're like, "Just get a play." I was like, "I have one. I just prefer to play it on my Xbox." Is that a problem? And we're talking about like overall
thing, right? Like
overall strategy of the idea of Xbox doing what they're doing, and is it the right thing to do? Because that's what people are going to be writing stories about in 5-10 years. Was Microsoft's decision the correct thing to do? And that's going to be, you can't answer that right now because you don't know the breadth of the impact this is going to have in the future. But you'll definitely know in 5 to 10 years whether or not that was the correct decision. And, some people, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to look back on all this stuff. If it's a huge success, people are like, well, Microsoft was ahead of the curve again, and they nailed where the industry was going, and now they're reaping the fruits of it. But if it's not, and it really has a detrimental impact to their own hardware platform, which then, you see a lessening of their monthly active users on console, maybe even a decrease in Game Pass, because right now console currently powers pretty much all of Game Pass. So it's like, we're going to need to see how that plays out. And I don't know the future. I mean, it might be easy for someone to say, oh, it's going to fail, but you don't know. Or someone to say it's going to succeed. You don't know either, Yeah,
my thing is really like, as long as Xbox keeps some things timed, to keep the relevance of Xbox in the conversation. Because if there's no timed exclusives, people won't even talk about the Xbox version. They'll only talk about the PlayStation version and the PC version. Like, they already gave that away to PC to some degree. But I think you need to have PC because of, just achieving as much sales as you can, given how much everything costs now. But I think as long as they keep things timed to the console, in the console landscape, I really think they have to do that for their major games and like things like Indiana Jones, just so that Xbox stays in the conversation, But I don't know if Xbox feels the same way. I don't know if Xbox has checked out all that kind of stuff. So I guess we'll see how it all goes.
Yeah, we have just James93, member for 13 months, says, hi guys, no question, but I just want to say keep up the good work. Like, sub, also share. Thanks for the amazing 13 months. Many more to come. Yeah, I don't know. Like this whole thing with Sarah Bond and the Xbox Everywhere and her desire to push it, I think it's like a company-wide thing. I would imagine like someone like Matt Booty was probably against it, but I would have to take a guess, since Phil's Sarah's boss, that he would have to approve any sort of thing that she's presenting, so I don't think this all just falls on one person. It's like one person has this, eureka moment. It's like, oh, I know. How about we put Xbox games everywhere? Xbox Everywhere will be the slogan, and everyone's like, okay, let's do this. But remember to keep in mind, you're on the line for this. If it doesn't go well, then we want to make sure that everybody knows this was your idea and you're at fault and all that stuff. And maybe that's how the corporate game is played, which I'm sure some of it is. A lot of backstabbing, a lot of intrigue in these gigantic corporations. And I'm not within Microsoft, but I do know for a fact that there are people within the executive branch of Xbox that did not agree with the idea of putting games on PlayStation. But I think they were drowned out by the people who supported it, and I think by just the money people, the people who controlled the purse strings. Hey, we may not be able to invest in these games, but if we are able to put them elsewhere, then you'll be able to get your funding. Okay, well, just to let it be known, I don't support this, right?
Yeah.
Sort of stuff. So,
do you want to hear my very early impressions of Path of Exile 2?
Okay, let's hear it. What is it?
So I was able to get in 14,000 player queue, right?
Okay.
I finally got in. The graphics are stunning. It looks
Stunning.
gorgeous, right?
All
It's
right.
stunning.
Better than
It's
Diablo 4?
I wouldn't say that. I think I prefer the art style in Path of Exile. It is like if Diablo's like really gothic, Path of Exile is like turbo gothic. Like
Okay.
I love the art direction of Path of Exile. The resolution is not great though. There's a lot of jaggies.
It is
But
early
early
access,
access.
right?
It is early access, so it will be optimized. The frame rate's all over the place too. So again, early access, and this is on Xbox Series X. So performance not great. Animations as well, not great. Look kind of janky. The dude's running animation is not the best. However, the gameplay is really fun. Like it feels weighty. The effects are really cool, even at level 1. So I'm playing a mercenary, which is a crossbow dude by the looks of things. You can only, like Diablo 2, like each class is, you can't customize the way they look like Diablo. So it's sort of like the class you play is also the character you play. So I played mercenary. I just got unlocked explosive grenade. That was cool. The special effects are really good, and the combat has a good feel to it, good sounds, all that stuff. However, when I got to the main city, the game crashed. So it is rough. It is in a rough state. So yeah, Path of Exile looks like it's gonna have a bright future ahead of it, but at least for this current Xbox build is rough, man. If Stalker 2 was rough at launch, this is like super duper rough. This is like next level rough. So I'm gonna wait for a few more patches before I try and get into it, I think. But I think it's gonna be a big deal, like the original was, you know.
Yeah,
Path of
and
Exile's a good. It's so people are asking in chat if it's free to play. So Path of Exile is going to be free to play, but the early access period costs $30. It's like a founder's pack to help develop the game. So it is a genuine early access period, and if you want to get in early, you pay $30. And there's a bunch of different packs as well. There's some like really expensive ones that have like cosmetics in them
yeah, I
and
saw
stuff.
one that was like
But when it
$200
launches,
or something.
yeah, there's a $200 pack, but once it is finished, it will be free play.
What's
So
the timeline of 1.0? Do we
I
know?
don't know off the top of my head. Don't know off the top of my head. Some people say 6 months in the chat. I think that's probably optimistic. Probably. I don't know what the timeline is, but HK Gaming says I prefer the real PoE, Pillars of Eternity. Hell yeah! I actually reinstalled Pillars of Eternity the other day, as if I don't have enough issues with the backlog. You know what's really annoying about Pillars of Eternity? It says
What?
it supports Xbox Cloud saves on the Xbox PC app, but it doesn't. It doesn't, Rand. It's a liar. Because when I downloaded the game, I had no save files, and I know that I saved that game. So,
Sounds like it
oh,
didn't.
we got Zedox in the chat. Hey Zedox, how's it going, man? Where's my Minecraft ray tracing, bro?
Yeah.
Where's the Minecraft ray tracing? Get on that, dude. We have a new live event for Minecraft. Like, so Minecraft just got a new update, Rand. I don't know if you saw this, with a creepy haunted forest biome with a freakish Cthulhu tree monster. I swear to God, Minecraft is a horror game. Really. Like, people say Minecraft's for kids, and I'm like, it's a horror game for kids. It's a scary, spooky game, dude. And I want to play it at night, but dude, I have to say, Rand, I've been playing a bit of Minecraft again recently, as well as all the other things I've been playing.
Have you?
Yeah, I can't just play one game. I've been playing Call of Duty. I just hit like rank 50. I've been playing World of Warcraft a bit. Dude, I'm cooked, man. Why can't I just complete a game, dude? What is wrong with me? It's bad, bro.
It is bad, bro. You're bad.
It's bad. But I'm almost glad the Path of Exile is not polished, because now I can take that out of my rotation until it's finished. Oh, and Stalker 2 as well. Like, Stalker 2's had 3 patches, major patches since launch. Are they on 4 now? I think they might be on their 4th patch. Fixing up the game. So like, it's basically what you would describe as playable now on Xbox. It's the dead zones are fixed, performance issues seem to be largely fixed. A lot of the hard locks, bugs with quests have been fixed. Mutants have been rebalanced, all that stuff. So yeah, I think Stalker 2's ready for the prime time. It's just a shame it couldn't launch like that. I think if it had launched like that, it probably would have got in the high 80s, but...
Well, then I wonder why they just didn't delay it until January or something.
Yeah. Maybe they just needed to start the cash coming in.
They really want it out for the holiday?
They just probably hit a point where it's like, we need cash flow now. We need the cash flow coming in. But maybe they should have launched in early access or something. Done an early access period for it if they wanted cash flow. I don't know. But the game seems to have been a hit anyway. Like, it did well on Steam. And I think it'll have a long tail. The game's amazing, so I'm waiting for a couple more patches before I go hard into it, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, Path of Exile is fried, man. It's fried.
We got Shawn786 with the 5. What's up, playa? He says, what is up, Rand and Jez? Indiana Jones so far is fantastic. Todd Howard and Machine Games nailed it. Great puzzles, and I love punching bad guys. Ponies. Oh, yeah, it's, me and Jez really like the game. So I'm glad it's doing well. I'm glad it's reviewing well, and it's a nice capstone for the end of the year for Xbox.
Yeah, sure is.
The lead into next year. We got Avowed coming out in February, and South of Midnight maybe coming out in May. And then you see if Fable and Doom: The Dark Ages release, plus whatever other games they have. It's a great game. It's unfortunate that it won't be represented at the Keighleys, because I think Troy Baker does such a good job, he'd win. But I'm glad that people are really liking the game. Achievement with the 2 says, Pillars doesn't support controller on the ROG.
Not surprising. I mean, I would honestly not play with the controller anyway. It's a pain with the controller.
Yeah. We got Nick Terry with the $4.99. What do you guys think of the recent rumors about Steam releasing another home console soon? We sort of briefly talked about that at the very beginning of the show. This is something I think, Jez, you've been predicting for a while, or you've even been on. I think you were on Sacred Symbols Plus a while back with Colin, and you said, who won the console war? And he was like, who? PlayStation? And you're like, Steam won. Because Steam has all PlayStation games and all the Xbox games, and they're selling this handheld off of the strength of the brand. And now they might get into the console area where they would be competing with Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, but also having all the PC games, which are usually cheaper on PC than the consoles. You'll be able to play it on that console or on your handheld or on your PC, which is kind of like the Xbox ecosystem in a way. I don't know, does Steam really do cloud gaming? But I mean, you could sign up for NVIDIA and do it there.
I got free cloud saves, though, unlike PlayStation.
So it's like, there's a part of me that wonders, how would PlayStation feel about that if they do release a console that competes with them, and like their own games are playable on that device? Would PlayStation demand that Steam not enable those games for that device?
Well, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? Like, I think someone asked that in Patreon Q&A last week. Or, well, not last week, on Monday. I think the question was along the lines of, will PlayStation pull its exclusives off any potential Steam console?
Yeah, I don't think they would pull it. I think they would just tell Steam, don't enable it on that device.
Yeah, but might Steam be like, well, we're making it part of our agreement. If you want to be on Steam, you have to be on every Steam device. Because I'm sure OEMs will be like, well, we're not going to make a Steam machine if it doesn't have the PlayStation bangers on it. So there could be some push and pull there, but I think generally Steam likes to side with, their publisher partners. And that's one reason Steam's so popular. Devs like working with them. And also, they pass on a lot of their savings to the consumer. So not only do they have the most affordable, PC handheld right now, they also, like you say, have the most generous sales. They also have And yeah, publishers do set the sales, but I think some of the reasons why they set generous sales in the first place is because Steam users buy more, and also, there was a report recently this week as well. I saw a report that said like, I can't remember how many billions of dollars it was, but it was like gamers have spent something like $30 billion buying games on Steam that they've never played. And I know I'm guilty of that. I always see things in the Steam site. I think I bought Factorio when it was on sale the other day. I haven't launched it once. I bought Satisfactory the other day. I haven't launched it once. I got Black Myth Wukong. I've barely played it. I played it for like an hour. I got tons of games on Steam that I've just never got around to playing. But if all this coalesces into a Steam console where, it has Xbox and PlayStation's exclusives, that's a huge coup they've pulled off against Xbox and PlayStation.
Well, I guess also
gone in through the back door.
In this hypothetical situation where they release one of those, is it going to be a box product you buy that's on the shelves at Best Buy and Walmart next to the PlayStations and Xbox and Nintendos? Because currently, I don't think this isn't the only place to get the Steam Deck through Valve itself. I don't know.
It is available at some retailers now.
Is it? Okay, because I don't think it's available on Amazon, is it? Let's see, Amazon.
I think it is.
Steam Deck. Let's see, can you buy the Steam Deck?
Yep, it's available on Amazon UK.
Yeah, it's okay. So it is available on Amazon. I think maybe at launch it wasn't available, right? Something like that. So then that would be a more interesting thing if like you could, people walk into the store of their Best Buys, their Walmarts and places, and then it's essentially right next to the competing product, and people can make a choice about what they want to engage in.
Yeah. There's also the fact Valve has no shareholders. So everything they do revolves around
The game ain't gonna be there forever.
No, maybe not. But right now, everything they do is sort of
could you imagine
towards the consumer.
Could you imagine if like
Microsoft
Gabe leaves and like they sell to Tencent or something,
or
like NetEase or like some overseas company or something like that?
Christ.
Well,
maybe
they wouldn't. Microsoft wouldn't be allowed to buy it. I'm telling you right now, if Microsoft purchased Steam, the regulators would not allow that. You talk about
what if they grease the right palms?
I don't know if there's
the right palms to silver, bro.
Not happening, bro. Maybe it would. Maybe in the U.S.
What if
the FTC would, but I'm telling you right now, the CMA and the EU would come down hard on that.
You know who's going to buy Steam?
Who?
Elon Musk, bro.
Yeah, probably.
And he's going to rename it to Steam X.
Ruin Steam like you ruined Twitter. All right, so we got Jay Rembert with the 2. Imagine thinking 30 million is too small. Shaking my damn head. Well, hey, that's Shawn Layden. He says the juice isn't worth the squeeze, Jay. That you could get extra revenue, but is it really worth it in the end? It's kind of what his. It's like, is it worth the brand damage? That's his whole point. And he says, like, the PlayStation community gets really upset about PC releases. Who? Like, the couple hundred clowns on Twitter who get upset because the PC plays one of their games? Oh, no, not those guys. Let me just run my entire business strategy through the couple, those guys that spend their entire waking existence on Spaces talking about that shit all day. Sorry, I'm not too concerned, and I wouldn't say the PlayStation community gets upset at it. It's like some jabronis on Twitter get upset about it, when in reality, well, yeah, it's just a few jabronis. There's 60 million PlayStation users. I would imagine the vast majority of them don't give a flying fuck about those games being on PC.
But it does seem like PlayStation caters towards that. It feels like they are like, they feel like that vocal minority influences the zeitgeist, and that's something we've talked about with regards to Xbox before. Do the haters put people off from buying an Xbox? That's something to think about, I think.
Oh, see, Matt says, yeah, those are resellers on Marketplace through Amazon. New Steam Decks you can only get from Valve. Okay, so I was right about that.
Huh.
Yeah, Jez. See, I knew it was only available through whatever.
Rip. I
Nick
just
Terry.
popped a napalm strike,
Nick
bro.
Terry with the 999 says, "Watch, they're gonna release the new Steam console with the Half-Life 3 exclusive." Could you imagine? Could you
Well, that's that.
imagine? Oh
I think
man.
that's the point I made on Colin's podcast was like they could like drop the Steam Box 360 with Half-Life 3 as an exclusive, and Xbox and PlayStation wouldn't get that. Xbox and PlayStation would get jack shit.
Yeah,
While,
Andrew says with the 199, how would this be any different than the Steam machines? And you are right. Steam
Proton.
machines did fail. So what would it be different? I don't know. Maybe Steam's in a better place.
Proton.
Yeah,
Proton, dude.
I guess the idea here is there who is that like Steam console for? It's because it certainly wouldn't be for the PC gamer because the PC gamer's got his rig. As we know, every PC gamer's got a 4090, right, bro? Wink, wink, right? Because everybody talks about how beastly their rigs are. So I can't imagine someone who talks about all the time about how they're playing games at 320 frames and all that sort of stuff because they like the power the PC gives you, and then being able to take a game on the go with the Steam OLED, the Steam Deck, is going to be really interested in a console, regardless of whether it's put out by Steam, because then you're probably making those at a specific spec, which is not going to be as powerful as their own PCs that they have. So I guess you can make the argument, is there really a market for a dedicated console?
Devs really like specific specs, bro.
Sure.
But
I'm saying, I guess there's enough PC users where maybe
price.
it is, and price and performance, because
also it depends on how much stock they make. Because if they go ham with the stock, and they have stock sitting around, then yeah, it's probably not a good idea. But if they make enough stock where it's like we know we can sell through this amount, and then gradually scale up as it becomes more popular and interesting, then they can do it on a smaller scale and build up. It doesn't have to be like the Surface RT where they have to write down billions of dollars worth of stock because they overstocked it, and then the overstock levels basically killed the whole platform. It doesn't have to be like that, and it won't be like that if they know what they're doing. It's not like when the first Galaxy Fold came out. I don't think it sold out really quickly because I think Samsung was like, I don't know if anyone's gonna want a folding phone, and sure enough, you don't see many Galaxy Folds out there. There's an audience for it, but it's pretty niche compared to the regular rectangle phone. But they still do it because it's still a profitable, small, extra little business for them. And I think that's the way that the Steam machine platform will scale up. And it is not the same as the Steam machines back in the day because now they've got Proton, they've got every Windows game available and ready to go potentially. They've done so much work making the whole experience just better than it was back then. I remember back then with the Steam machine, people were just gagging to install Windows on that thing because Linux and the Steam OS was such a nightmare to work with, and people were just like, oh, well, if I'm installing Windows on this thing anyway, why not just buy a PC? That's the argument that emerged out of the first wave of Steam machines. But the second wave, designed for TV, it's got all the games, got the Proton, it's got a mature ecosystem, and now Valve's got a ton of experience in hardware now. It's a completely different situation, so I'm bullish, man. I'm bullish on that shit.
Okay.
It's a console war's over, bro. Steam won it, bro. And now you've got Microsoft with the cloud saves on Steam. Hell, the Steam machine is going to be an Xbox, essentially. Microsoft's just ahead of the curve, man.
Nerds and Other Legends with the 5 says, my biggest problem with everything as an Xbox is that it essentially turns Xbox into a generic product and a white label brand alternative.
Yep, sure does.
Yep.
That is for people who are invested in the brand and have enjoyed the community that built up around this. That is the disappointing thing here. I'm like someone who, we built a whole podcast on this community. So it's sad to see Microsoft sort of treat it that way. But at the same time, it's not like Microsoft's making any money from this, or at least not something that can put in a spreadsheet. I'm sure Microsoft's like, there's a lot of people who are like, we shouldn't sacrifice the community on the pyre of making money. And I know there isn't Microsoft who are thinking about all that kind of stuff, but it's hard to represent that in a spreadsheet, and I think that's why some of this stuff is happening. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got here.
I just got a Hellstorm missile, bro.
Huh.
Proud of me?
Very proud. I know we talked a little bit about like the live service stuff when we were talking about like Shawn Layden's quotes, and you got to mention Ubisoft's in the news for a couple different reasons again. One, they shut down XDefiant.
Ubisoft. I feel like we talk every week about
I know.
Ubisoft
Well, they just always happens. The funny thing is, this has been, I think Tom Henderson reported that they were considering this months ago, and they had to come out against it. But
Tom Henderson knew before them.
Yeah. And so they basically are stopping development of XDefiant, and I believe they're going to remove it sometime next year. Servers remain active until June 3rd, 2025. But because of this, they are having a bunch of layoffs. I think something like 277 people are going to lose their jobs because Ubisoft San Francisco and the Osaka production studios will close, and the Sydney production site will ramp down, with 143 people departing in San Francisco and 134 people basically leaving in Osaka and Sydney. And man, the game didn't even last a year, because I think it came out this year, so they announced that it's closing. And it's funny, well, not funny, but I guess also this is the sobering reality of trying to compete in what I think is a very mature, very saturated market. You're talking about a first-person shooter competing in this day and age against already established brands that have been around for years and years and years. You're not going to compete against COD. You're definitely not taking any of Fortnite's audience or Apex Legends or any of the ones that already exist. And
even Apex is struggling.
The thing is, like, for XDefiant to succeed, it needed to be magnitudes better than Call of Duty to get people to actually switch from the game that they have thousands of hours and hundreds of dollars invested in. And the fact of the matter is, maybe XDefiant was a little bit better than Call of Duty, but for a lot of people it wasn't. They played it for a little bit, and then they moved on. And guess what? That's the name of the game. You're giving away the game for free, so you're going to have a lot of people playing it, so you have a large base of people buying microtransactions, and that just wasn't the case. So now it shuts down. That's 2 live service games, the 2 most recent live service games that were first-person orientated, all shut down, from Concord to XDefiant. Both launched this year, both shut down. I mean, I don't know, that should send signals to anybody else who's trying to get into the space to be like, unless you're already an established IP, you might want to think twice about it. Now, something like
I was gonna ask you, like, how does that bode for Halo? Was Halo a victim of that, or was Halo just bad?
I think the problem with Halo was they didn't have any content. I think people loved playing it when it first came out, but when it became apparent that Halo didn't have the content breadth that... Because I feel like I think developers know this, but when you're launching your game in 2024, you can't have these gaps in your content pipeline, because you aren't competing against Rainbow Six of 2015, where it's starting out and it's stumbling. You're competing against Rainbow Six now, which isn't doing those things and is a well-oiled machine like Fortnite, where those games have been doing this for years and years and years, and they don't miss a beat. Sure, maybe they delay a season by 2 weeks, but they're not delaying seasons by 3 months or whatever it is. And normally when companies launch this stuff, they're not ready. So, like, you're competing against these super polished experiences with a product that's nowhere near as good, with a content pipeline that is scatterbrained. So you need to be as good at launch as those games, with a plan to meet it. And Halo just wasn't. It didn't have that. Could they? So that's something you need to think about for the next Halo. But Halo at least is a known IP. So I'm not saying it'll overtake Fortnite or Call of Duty because it clearly can't. But I think it could compete in the space. And the next game I think about is Battlefield. Battlefield's a known IP, as has a lot of fans. The last one wasn't great, but you could probably eke away some of it. Now you probably won't get on the levels of the other games in that genre, but you could definitely carve out your own niche. But like I said, you need to have the content plan ready, and the game first, more than anything, absolutely needs to be good. Right? You can't have a bad release because that's just gonna mar you. That's why I'm really looking at Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals third person, based off the Marvel IP, so a lot of people are going to be interested. There might be some already, what would you call it? Apathy towards Overwatch 2 at this point in time, even though I think a lot of people still play it, right? So maybe there's
a lot of people play it, but it's not growing.
So maybe there is a window for them to take some of that audience that is disillusioned with Overwatch and come in with a game that maybe is just as good gameplay wise, but actually is tied to, hey, I love Doctor Strange, I love Wolverine. Let me buy some of this stuff. So we'll see how those numbers for Marvel Rivals are in a month, because XDefiant came out to huge numbers, wasn't it? Like 15 million in a couple days, 30 million in like a month or whatever it was. So the people came to play it, they just couldn't keep them for whatever reason, and that's the risk.
People really want an alternative to Call of Duty, because Call of Duty dropped off so hard, but then Black Ops 6 has brought it back, and everyone loves Call of Duty.
And that's part of the whole yearly release of Call of Duty, right? Every November, October, you're going to have a new experience with a new game and a new setting and stuff. And not everybody can do that because game development, as Shawn Layden said, is so expensive. And I mean, that's part of the reason why Activision is sort of sold in the first place. But it's like you got Black Ops 6 this year, and then next year you're going to have the sequel, and the year after that you might have Advanced Warfare 2. Not every franchise can pull that off, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of another game here, Foam Stars is also stopping seasons and dev work. They're not pulling the game yet, but it's only a matter of time, I think, before that game goes away.
I agree.
And then speaking about Ubisoft, Jez, I'm sure you saw this news, but I don't know what has come of it yet, if anything. But apparently they stopped trading of Ubisoft shares.
Ooh, when was that? Today?
Today. Reuters reported that Ubisoft shares have been suspended after talks of potential buyout. Quote, Yves family has been in talks with Tencent and other investors in recent weeks and have indicated they would like to retain the control of the company. Tencent has yet to decide whether to participate in the buyout, partially because they want a greater say on future board decisions. So,
how do you feel about that?
I mean, isn't this kind of what we thought was going to happen and what we said we thought was going to be the end phase of Ubisoft, was that somebody was going to buy them out? Whether it was a private investor, whether it was a Tencent, whether it was going to be, the game group from Saudi Arabia. It felt like...
Who do you think it's going to be, if you had to guess?
I would say Tencent, because they're already involved, and it looks like they're, I can't imagine it being any of the console manufacturers. I can't imagine it being Xbox or PlayStation. They have too many employees. I think they have something like 15,000 employees.
Yeah, it's a huge company.
Xbox is not taking that on. They're still integrating Activision. They're not going... Granted, Ubisoft would be cheaper. It would be magnitudes cheaper to get Ubisoft. But they don't want to take on all those employees. And I don't think Sony wants to take on all those employees. Especially with them focused on profitability and all those things. I don't think either of them or Nintendo are going to be interested in buying a giant publisher.
I
So
could see maybe Nintendo, man. They got loads
yeah,
of cash. Nintendo, nah. I tell you what, Nintendo wants some, bro.
why?
Mario versus Rabbids, baby. Mario versus is that what it's called? Mario Rabbids.
I think
Have you
so.
have you seen
Yeah, but
seen that game?
the second one bombed though. The first one did great. The second one was a complete flop.
Yeah, maybe it's Ubisoft's fault that it flopped. And Nintendo's like, how can we get revenge? We buy them out.
Yeah, no, that ain't happening.
Uh,
But it's not surprising. Ubisoft's in a really bad situation. You know, Star Wars didn't sell well. They delayed Assassin's Creed. XDefiant is dying, closing studios. There's probably going to be more layoffs at Ubisoft down the road.
oh, no doubt.
And, you know, God help them if Assassin's Creed bombs too. Because then you're really up shit's creek without a paddle at that point.
Yeah, didn't Tom Anderson say that they've got like 1 million Assassin's Creed projects in the works to try?
Yeah,
and
they got like
shore
10 for
things
the
up?
next 5 years or something.
Yeah,
They're really going all in on Assassin's Creed. So they better hope that it's a big success like Valhalla was. Because if it's not, I don't know what they do then. It's like Far Cry ain't going to save you as much as I like Far Cry. You know, and I want my Splinter Cell game, but I know Splinter Cell ain't going to save you either. And Just Dance ain't doing shit. I don't know. It's like, it's weird because at one point Ubisoft was one of my favorite publishers back during the 360 gen. They were making all these new games. They were kind of patented the open world formula. They were doing things at the time where, you know, it was sort of fresh and exciting. And
what was that Apocalypse game they did?
Apocalypse
It went straight to Xbox Live Arcade.
Oh yeah, it's black and white, right?
No. Yeah, the game was black and white. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called though. It was called I Am Alone or something like that.
Yeah.
I
It was
can't remember
alright.
what it was called.
It was an alright game.
I fucking love that game, dude. I love that game. And I was like, man, what would this look like with a huge budget? And it was basically The Last of Us. Is that what it would have been? But they never made it for some reason.
Ubisoft. We'll see what happens with them. Something's gonna go down maybe early next year. From Software's in the news again too. We still don't have any information about if Sony is buying them. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But there was an interview that came out that basically said that they're not going to be doing Elden Ring 2, Jez.
Yeah, no Elden Ring 2, but they're not gonna. They don't want to quit the IP, but they're not doing Elden Ring 2 at the moment. So whatever they're doing next is not Elden Ring 2.
Well, it could be like maybe in the Elden Ring universe, but you know, if this was any other studio that saw the success they saw with Elden Ring, you damn well know the sequel would have been greenlit already.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're not doing one
speaks to their integrity.
You could say integrity, balls,
creativity, leading with their creativity and instead of money, because they could just, if they were so inclined and they wanted to make a shitload of money, they could do it. But I mean, there's some like hints about what they might do. There's like
what do you think? What do you think they're gonna do? What do you think they're gonna do?
Well, there was an interview from a few months ago where Hidetaka Miyazaki, he said something. They were talking about Armored Core, and they were like, he was saying like, I got some thoughts about on how we could take this to the next level, kind of thing. So part of me was wondering like, does he want to like work on Armored Core to sort of put a template in place? Because there's a lot of different developers From Software. Like obviously Miyazaki was not directly involved with Armored Core, but like maybe he's thinking like, I could help them get it to the next level with some of my ideas and give them a template on how to move forward with the franchise. Because Armored Core 6 was a great game. It's another game that I want to finish that I haven't yet. It's in the eternal backlog. But it was super fun, like so stylish and really just epic feeling combat, you know. But it does lack that sort of that quality bar that Miyazaki tends to bring to his games. Like if you look at the difference between Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3, and I know there's Dark Souls 2 fans that are probably screaming right now, but you know, I'm just talking about raw quality here, you know. Dark Souls 2 has its issues, and I think everyone agrees with that. But so does Dark Souls 3, to be fair. But you know what I mean? I think like maybe that could do like maybe the next focus could be like a next level Armored Core game, or maybe something completely new out of left field, or maybe like something in the Armored Core universe but that isn't a traditional Armored Core game. I don't know. There's so much they could do. Sekiro 2, Bloodborne remake, Bloodborne 2 for Sony.
Could they? Yeah.
Who knows, man?
Bloodborne 2. I mean, is it a sign that PlayStation did the 30 years of celebrating the 30 years of PlayStation and literally ended the video with this shot of Bloodborne that said it's about persistence?
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, are they teasing their fan base enough? But I could have sworn, I had a bunch of PlayStation guys tell me that this week was supposed to be the secret Sony showcase.
Wait, what? There was a Sony showcase?
There was supposed to be. There was supposed to be a secret Sony showcase on December 3rd to celebrate the 30 years. And there wasn't. But I was assured by the PlayStation insiders that this was happening. So I guess
Damn.
I need to listen to new people, I suppose. Anything else you want to talk about, Jez? Anything else on your mind?
I think we're good, man. We can go into some Q&As if you want.
Let me look to see if there's anything I missed here. It doesn't really look like it. So, yeah, I guess it's time to get into the Patreon question and answers. You do have some time left. If you want to log into your account and drop us the question, we'll definitely answer it. Make sure you guys hit the like button if you enjoyed the podcast and subscribe if you're new. We appreciate everyone who's been rocking out with us so far on this cold Friday. Although it's, I'm super excited to end the podcast here in a little bit, Jez. You want to know why? I've been waiting for this day for a long time, basically ever since last year. Because today, Brandon Sanderson has finally released the 5th book in the Stormlight Archive.
No.
Wind and Truth. And I got the Amazon notification that it was delivered 20 minutes ago. So it's sitting outside in the cold Chicago frigid air of December, waiting for me to end the show so I can go pick it up, open it, and stare lovingly into the hardcover. 1,300 pages awaits me on this epic adventure that concludes the first half, the first arc of Stormlight Archive.
Rip.
And I am so excited. You have no idea. I cannot help myself. I am, Slow-Mo likes Stormlight. Is he ready? I don't know. Everborn Saga, he's also, he was kind of reading the 4th book. He's not ready. Joaquin, he hasn't even read the 4th book yet because he's a fake reader. It's like, I'm the only one ready to go. And I'm ready to go. As soon as this is over, I'm going outside. I'm getting that book. And I'm sitting down and I'm reading what Sanderson has to say. And I am...
What if someone stole it?
Nobody's going to steal it, bro. And if somebody
you can't
did...
have shit in Chicago, bro.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Oh, man, I can't wait to see how this ends. Who's going to live? Who's going to die? How's it going to happen? Oh, man.
You should read a real book like Chainsaw Man. Or Berserk.
Yeah. Should I?
Yeah. Yeah, should, yeah.
I will read Berserk at some point. I will. All right, let me grab these questions from the wonderful people at patreon.com/XB2. Let's see, we got... we don't have that many.
HK Gaming's on your porch. He said he's already stealing it, bro.
What? You better put that down.
It's too late, bro. He stole it, bro.
Yeah, damn it. All right, we have Silas. Good day, fellow archaeologists. Let's explore the depths of your past. What is the single best day of your life? Oh, man, jeez.
Meeting Rand.
I gotta put my thinking cap here. What was the best day of my life? Man, I don't know. What do you think, Jazz? What was the best day of your life?
Honestly,
Meeting your
I don't know,
girlfriend?
man. I was super anxious meeting my girlfriend, so
You wouldn't say it was the
does that
best.
does that count? um, I don't know. Probably, man. This is kind of sad, really, but um,
I mean, you're not married, I'm not married, so you can't say that. We don't have kids, so, some people would say when my kids were born. I will say a moment that I still remember is, and it's up there for sure, when I broke a million gamer score at E3 2016.
that's pretty epic.
That was pretty cool.
I mean, in terms of like cool shit that happened, I felt kind of like that when Blizzard played my Warcraft song at BlizzCon back in the day. I'd written a song about Warcraft and Blizzard played it to like thousands of people, and I was just like, "Yep, this is it. I peaked. Never gonna go further than this." I was like 21 or 22 or something. That was cool as hell. But me and my girlfriend go to this spa resort every few years at the beach, like when money permitting, and every time we go there, it's just such a great time. So chill in the
I
jacuzzi.
mean, I guess I could say when you said vacations, I remember going to Disney World in 8th grade and loving Disney World. Like it was the greatest time ever. I haven't been on vacation since then, so I just
Oh, you gotta go
have
on
some.
vacation, dude.
I mean, I haven't. I mean, you take vacations, but they're stay vacations. I just haven't been anywhere else. So Disney World was amazing back then.
I want to come to Chicago and do this, do those food challenges, which look really easy.
Yeah,
Was it you who linked me that?
I did, because he went to a pizza place that's literally down the street, like a mile away, that I used to visit almost every week during high school.
That
And
pizza was tiny, bro.
bro, that pizza is great.
I want it, but you get it for free if you eat all of it in half an hour, and it's like
You wouldn't
I'll
be
eat
able
two
to.
of those.
You wouldn't be able
I'll
to.
eat two of those in half an hour,
No,
dude. Do you have any idea who I am?
Yeah, you wouldn't
Do
be
you
able
know
to.
who I am, sir? I would demolish that pizza, bro.
Red and Black
I'll
Dog
come
says
to
Jez
Chicago
and his
eventually.
girlfriend go to a swingers resort. Hmm.
A spa resort. A spa resort. It's like, got massage people, got hot tubs, swimming pool, by the beach, Italian food, really relaxed, chill, a million miles away from everywhere else. But I think one year that I went there was when Xbox news happened and that the meme began, I think. But yeah, I don't know.
All right, next question. We have achievement. Xbox seems to be about player choice, so I imagine their handheld will have some type of docking capability. Sony seems to
Yeah.
prefer their customers buy multiple devices. If Sony is going to make a handheld, can you see them not allowing docking and trying to give a scapegoat answer like we believe premium displays require a premium home console?
I think they would probably allow docking, but it'd be some proprietary dock. It'd probably be a dock with a connector you have to buy from Sony that costs extra money. Like their proprietary vertical stand thing. So I can see them having the dock capability, but I can see it costing like, I don't know, $100 extra or whatever. It won't be a standard USB-C kind of deal like the current handhelds have.
You know what's funny is when people always say Microsoft's about player choice, except when it comes to physical games sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I think Avowed
You mean
Special
physical
Edition
dicks?
doesn't come with the physical dick, so
No physical dick, no.
they're like, yeah, we got all about player choice. How do you want to engage with our content except physical? So, okay, thank you. I don't know. I could see Sony being like, this handheld's, well, I mean, if it's going to play PS5 games, maybe you want to dock it. But I could see also Xbox not doing a dock. I mean, just because the Switch has a dock doesn't mean.
I think Microsoft will embrace third-party docks because there's so many in the Windows ecosystem now. Like
Yeah.
I've got a no-brand USB-C dock for my Lenovo Legion Go, and Lenovo do their own dock, but there's like a million docks you can buy for all this shit. and like the Steam Deck, it's all just USB-C and it all just works. So I think Microsoft will make it just USB-C and it'll just work. But I could see Sony going totally proprietary. It's funny because Nintendo, there are third-party docks for Nintendo because their connector is just USB-C. But sometimes Nintendo updates break those docks. And I remember reading complaints before that. This was a long time ago, though. One of their updates to the Switch bricked people's Switches if they're connected to a third-party dock. But, you know, the Xbox had just used the Windows APIs for the Windows drivers for that USB port or whatever. So, I don't know. Should be fine.
We have Rave Damos says happy Friday after Black Friday and hope you, your friends, and your family, and ask the wonderful members of this great community all have a safe and enjoyable holiday season. That's the comment. Love the show, gents. Stay awesome. Well, thank you for the comment. We appreciate that very much. Sir Riffslot in chat says, Rand, I'm finally playing Prince of Persia Lost Crown and loving it. Well, awesome. Because as far as I think, that's still my game of the year.
Really?
I still, yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll talk more about game of the year when I kind of sit down and think about it, you know, later this month. But yeah,
we've just done our Windows Central team Game of the Year awards. Written them all up. Shawn Layden just made the graphics for it, so look out for that next week. What did the Windows Central team pick as Game of the Year 2024?
Tom Warren's in chat saying, who's playing Valorant and insta-locking Clove? I believe that would be Jez's cousin who's playing Valorant. Because it wasn't him, and not me.
Yeah, it's my.
I said,
my
Jez,
cousin.
capture
What's
some
wrong with
Valorant
Clove?
footage, and he basically had his cousin play it to capture it, so.
What's wrong with Clove?
I don't know. We have here. Let's see. Next question we have. Omen, happy Friday. I'm glad Xbox did the year in review once again. Something interesting was how they broke down playtime by platform, and specifically how they broke down console, cloud, and mobile. As far as I can tell, playing cloud games on your phone did not move the playtime up at all, nor did Age of Empires Mobile, Elder Scrolls Castle, COD Mobile, or Fallout Shelter. So my question is this. What could possibly have registered as playing from a mobile game in that Xbox year in review? Personally, I wonder if it had something to do with the Xbox mobile app store that never released. Interesting.
It's a good question. I mean, I think we talked about before this sort of hypothesis that Xbox's new marketing campaign, which is like, this is an Xbox, that is an Xbox, blah, blah, blah. And I actually got an ad on Reddit earlier that was like, this is an Xbox, and there was someone running around slapping Post-it notes on random devices, right? Part of me wonders, like, did they plan to have the Android App Store live to coincide with this stuff? But I don't know if we'll ever know that for sure, one way or the other. But yeah, that was my whole editorial about this. It was like, you know, you're making this claim that all these things are Xboxes, but I'm also sitting here thinking, how do I tell? How can I possibly explain to someone that their phone is an Xbox? Is it because you can go point the web browser to xbox.com/play and play some?
And that's absolutely 100% yes, because yeah.
But it's like how many games to buy in cloud? Very, very few. Presumably we might get a second batch of games this month, but
I mean, you can also play all the games in Game Pass, right? There's 300 or 400 something of them that will be in the cloud, right? There's a lot.
Yeah, but then it's like, yeah, you can play these games in the cloud, but you also need to get a controller attachment or a controller, but then also you need a stand for your phone, and it's like all these caveats. It's like, yeah, there's like a couple of games that play decently okay with touch, but not many.
Let's see. Next question we have. Good old Collinwood. But I mean, I guess Omen's right. If Age of Empires Mobile, Elder Scrolls Castle, COD Mobile, and Fallout Shelter didn't move the mobile tab, then like what is mobile, or what does Xbox consider mobile? Because like if you're just playing everything on cloud's cloud, but sometimes you're playing cloud on mobile. So like what registers as mobile? Maybe he's right. Maybe like the mobile app store was supposed to be that, and it just But it wasn't supposed to launch
yeah,
till November anyways. But I guess those stats do go up until... It's funny, because when the year in review stats came out, it was like, your most played game in Game Pass is Indiana Jones. And I'm like, oh no, the year in review is exposing I played indie early. Because at the time, you couldn't see it. It is like...
Oh, yeah.
Because, okay, so the stats do
That
go
wouldn't have
up
been,
to the
that
end
wouldn't
of
have been
November.
your fault. That
Well,
would have
no,
been
but
their
it's not like
fault.
anybody can see... Like, somebody can't, like
I get you.
find that. But it was just funny that, even though it was... If you looked what I was doing, it would say home on the Xbox. But, it's still... getting all the data, and it was like, this is your most played game from Game Pass this year, and it's like, oh, okay, that's funny.
Yeah.
We have Good O'Connell saying, hello, Rand and Jez. Have you ever watched a game trailer, thought, I'd like to play that, and then found out it wasn't coming to the platform of your choice? For most Xbox players, it would be watching most of Sony's first-party games. For me, it was watching the trailer to Kingmakers, and then seeing it's only going to PC. Kingmakers is best described as Battlefield 2042 goes Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That is, you time travel to the past with modern weaponry, to the time of knights and gallantry, basically take over England. I have seen that trailer. Were there any games you missed out because of this? Because it never came to Xbox?
Because you were hyped about a game and then discovered that it wasn't on your platform. Monster Hunter fucking Stories? Microsoft? Because Monster Hunter Stories is like, it's Monster Hunter Pokemon, right? And it's really cool. It's a really cool fucking game. And it came, the sequel, Monster Hunter Stories 2, was Switch exclusive for a while. So I was gutted about that. But then Capcom was like, oh, actually, we're bringing it to more platforms. PlayStation. And it's like, what? Why isn't this coming to Xbox? And it's still not coming to Xbox, even though, like, they've supposedly sorted out some of their developmental pipeline issues, which stopped some of the arcade classics coming. We still don't have any sign of Monster Hunter Stories coming to Xbox. And I am pissed about that. So that's my recent example, I suppose. I don't know if Rand has one. Is there anything that you saw? Well, think about you, Rand, is you've got every console, so you don't have to deal with that kind of thing, right?
Sure. I will say there is one.
Oh.
And it's not even so much that it was... Because if I wanted to, I could play it on PC. But obviously I want to play everything on my Xbox. But it was Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah.
So I don't own any VR stuff. I don't plan on ever really owning any VR stuff. And I remember being seeing the stuff and then hearing the reviews of how incredible it was and just being like, son of a bitch, It's like, all right,
you're going to feel that again with Half-Life 3, I think.
Yeah, but if Half-Life 3 does come out and it's available on PC, I'll probably just... And I couldn't play it on Xbox or PlayStation, I'd just play it on PC. I'd be like, all right, well, I got to play this game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I remember when I was a kid, right? I had a choice between Halo 2 or Half-Life 2. Because I think they came out roughly the same time. Or at least they came out in roughly the same time, to the point where I needed to save up money, and then they were both available at the same time. And I ended up picking Half-Life 2. And I remember being so annoyed at having to download Steam. Because I was like, what the fuck is this? I don't want this on my computer. This is really slow and laggy and bullshit. Because up until then, games generally didn't have DRM, I remember I had Unreal Tournament 99 on disc. And I took that shit. There was a serial key, right? But you could also just drag and drop the files off the disc onto the desktop and just run the game like that. So I took Unreal Tournament 99 to every single one of my friends' houses so we could all play it, But then Half-Life 2 was like, nope, you can't do that anymore. DRM, bitch. And I was like, oh, man. So yeah, that's a slight tangent there for you. But yeah, Half-Life 3. Do you think it's going to happen, Rand? Do you think it's going to happen?
Yeah, you know what? I think maybe it will. The other time I really experienced that, I think, was 2016's E3 when Sony revealed God of War and Spider-Man, and I was like, oh man, I really want to play those games. They look really good. And that's when I think the following year is when I bought a PS4. because it was like those games looked incredibly awesome, and I was like, I want to play those. You know, so it's great owning every platform because you don't have to miss out on stuff if you really want to play it.
Yeah.
Um,
Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth really very close, nearly pushed me over to get a PS5.
and that's why Sony made those
Oh,
deals.
actually, tell a lie. Final Fantasy VII Remake did push me over to get a PS4. I got a PS4 Pro just for Final Fantasy VII Remake. And then I reviewed the game. It was the only PlayStation game I've ever reviewed. I reviewed that on Android Central, back when Android Central covered PlayStation for some reason. And then I never used a PlayStation again.
Have you seen some of the reviews for the secret level?
Yeah, the Amazon TV show.
Yeah, how it's not very
it's bad.
good, and how it's basically like a designed marketing ads for the games or whatever.
I heard it's bad. Yeah.
And apparently the PlayStation ones are the worst.
Oof. Concord? There's a Concord one.
Yeah,
right?
there's a Concord one, but Concord don't exist no more. So.
Oh, that is true.
Maka 91 with Valorant. Where's Indie? I had Indie footage, but
Didn't want to put
since it's
spoilers
only in early access, I didn't want to put spoilers out there for anybody that's waiting to play it next week on Game Pass. So I was like, all right, we got some footage of Valorant here of Jez's cousin playing something, so I'll put that on in the meantime. So spoilers. We have a question here from Lee Sanders. How are the Indiana Jones achievements, Rand? Pretty simple or challenging? Simple for the most part. I wouldn't say any of them are really challenging. You pretty much got to get all the collectibles, which can be time consuming. There are some puzzles there that I wish Maka would make a guide for. Specifically, all the cog puzzles in the jungle level, which I don't even think Maka's gotten to yet. There's like 5 of them that are increasing difficulty that you need to solve to actually get an achievement and then actually get all the artifacts, because some of them behind those. And I don't like those puzzles. So I'm just waiting for somebody to make a video of him. But no, I think I ended up getting 800 out of 1,000, and I didn't even know what the list was because I couldn't see it. So pretty simple. It's just going to take you some time. And D Big Fluffy Bunny says, hey guys, happy Friday. I think one of my most anticipated games coming up is Fable. I've only ever played the 3rd game, and I loved it growing up. What was each of your favorite Fable games and moments if you have one? Have a great weekend. Interesting that Fable 3 was your first, and you loved it, because I think the consensus is that Fable 3 is the worst one. And that it's kind of like Fable's the best, then Fable 2, then Fable 3. Yeah, obviously. When you're a kid, it's a little bit different. I think Fable 1 was my favorite, or it's at least the one I've played the most. And one of the things I always remember about the Fable games was the idea of like the things you can do to become evil. I remember like taking these villagers and sacrificing them like consistently to you, so you basically have you're fully evil, so you have like the horns grow out of your head, and you would like or you would you be like, hey, you marry someone in Fable 2 and then have kids with them and then basically sacrifice them. I think that was even one of the achievements, was marrying someone and then like sacrificing them or something. So two's cool, and even in some ways I think 2 might be better than 1.
There's a doggo.
It does have a dog. They had co-op, but the co-op was you're tethered to the other character, which I hate tethered co-op. It's one of the reasons why I didn't like State of Decay 2's co-op system, because you could barely move away from the other character. Although I guess you really wouldn't want to, but still, it's like I don't want this limitation. But Fable had that limitation, and you could join other people's worlds. I remember joining a couple friends' stuff and doing a few things. But I think my favorite was Fable 1, because I know I played Fable 1 twice. And I am also very excited for the new Fable game. Hopefully it makes next year. And, after the footage I saw of it that Jez showed me, I'm more excited. I hope that we see it at January or February at a Dev Direct. We get a nice deep dive into the game and everything, or maybe they save that for the Dev Direct after the Xbox Showcase in June. I mean, there's a lot of choices about how they could go about showing off more Fable footage because it's going to be a big game. I think they've spent a lot of money on that game, a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm hopeful for it.
And let me check to see if there's any more questions. Okay, that's it. We've covered all the questions.
Nice.
Matt says it got removed from the upcoming section of the 2024 year and removed. Is that true?
What did?
I'm assuming he means Fable got removed from the upcoming section. Can you log into your 2024 year in review again, Jez, to see? I didn't even know. Did they actually do that? Did they have like these are the upcoming games?
If you click through, yeah, there was like a little thing with a sort of a message from Phil, and then a glimpse of what's coming next.
And
so I'll just.
Did they remove Fable?
I don't remember seeing Fable on there.
Oh, does that mean it's not coming next year, bro?
I mean, it sure might do. So if you scroll the way down, 24 recap, titles that dropped, Gear Up his. Oh yeah, okay. So there was 6 games there. Now there's only 5, which sticks out like a sore thumb because the grid is clearly for 6 games.
Okay.
So yeah, it looks like they've removed.
So what are the 6 games? What are the 5 games they list now?
Doom the Dark Ages, Path of Exile 2, South of Midnight, Avowed, and Assassin's Creed Shadows.
So South of Midnight, the Doom the Dark Ages, and Avowed are there though. It's just missing Fable.
Yeah, it's just missing Fable. Like it's just oddly 5 tiles. There's nothing else they could put there. They could put Monster Hunter. Well, I suppose Sony's got marketing for Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I'm sure Sony has the marketing for Monster Hunter, so that's a no.
They could put. I don't know.
Interesting. I guess maybe it's time for an article. Did Microsoft just let loose? Did Microsoft expose a Fable delay, but not including in the 2024 year review? There you go. Get all the Xbox fans upset about the idea of a Fable delay. Zach Riley says they should have put Yakuza Pirate in its place. Yeah, I mean, especially if you're not going to include Fable. I mean, that's a glaring omission. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, that is the end of the show. We appreciate everybody who's tuned in for the 3+ hours here. And it's the second show of the week. We did one on Monday. So, lot to talk about. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. If you did, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to this later on Spotify or iTunes, leave us a review. Hit a star, whether it's 1 or 5. And I hope everybody enjoys the games they're playing this week. If you're starting up Indiana Jones, have a good time. Basically, play it how you want, whether it's with guns like Jez apparently, which I didn't agree with, or taking your time going through the levels, or if you're going to wait in the Path of Exile 2 servers until you can get in, or maybe you're going to be playing as Black Widow, which I don't know if you saw. Black Widow, or what was it? Black Widow copied Overwatch, bro. No.
Oh, you mean?
I think
Widowmaker.
Widowmaker. Yeah, I thought I saw Mike Ibarra say that. But I don't
know.
Didn't
know that Black Widow is like a million years old.
I thought he was just joking. Like, oh, look at this. They even copied Widowmaker. And it's like, are you trying to be like facetious here? Or do you not know?
And also, like, Overwatch wasn't exactly completely original. It's a riff on Team Fortress 2. So,
yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, It's not a good look, man.
Yeah. Anyways,
But whatever.
have a great weekend, guys. Keep it gaming, and we will see you potentially on Tuesday. If not, we'll be back on Friday for another Xbox 2. Later, everyone.